that side effect that when I do finally go to sleep, if that stuff is still in my system, I can go sleeping 10 hours.
Yeah. Well, still on the case of emotions, in some ways, it's, even though they are in many respects gentler breezes, in others it's like, well, maybe they don't show as much as I actually feel them.
Yeah, my emotions have also been somewhat leveled out by the medication. I'm sad over my grandmother passing, but I'm not, I don't know, I'm in a weird state there. I don't know what the word is for it. I used to have road rage issues. They're gone. I've had a number of cases where I've had potentially close fatal accidents, like on my motorcycle, for example, or whatever, and it's like, oh, that could have sucked. Just brush them off. So I really don't know what that's about.
Yeah, I think a part of my relapse lately is I had 2 officers from my unit just die, and I also had a 16-year-old in my family just die from cancer as well. All 3 of these people died from terminal cancer.
Oh, wow, that's, yeah.
Within 4 weeks, right? So.
Yeah, that's a pounding. And see, was there anything? Oh, yeah, I did notice once when I thought I would experimentally try to take myself off the Paxil, I did like a 30-day taper off and just became ridiculously emotional. That was something I simply did not expect and didn't care for, really, to be honest.
I enjoy actually being on it because it actually makes me feel a little bit more human than I felt before, right? Before I felt very like I was an automaton, and now I actually feel like actually not on a low end. Now the way that I kind of look at it is that I have a normal roller coaster ride of emotions. It's okay to feel happy, it's okay to feel sad, but I'm not like totally crashed out. You know what I mean?
I've tried a few. I've tried a few over time, and by and large, they haven't done much of anything for me. The 2 things I had, well, they've had some physical side effects, or well, very physical. I mean, not like, even sexual side effects, or like nausea and so on. But other things had useful ones. There was this altar thing, help with neuropathy, so things didn't feel like they were burning quite as often. And that Wellbutrin stuff made it easier to tolerate being stuck in non-smoking areas. Kind of the addictive part of it, not really that big a deal for me, but can be a little bit of annoyance. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a tendency to forget to take the once-a-day pill, and if I go a couple days in a row with the Paxil, it was like severe withdrawal, the electrical storms and stuff. So I switched over to citalopram, which appears to, it's not quite as effective as the Paxil, but it appears to be selecting the same reuptake inhibitors. So it works, and it is much more subtle with the symptoms forgetting to take it.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying about the lightning storm in the head. yeah, that's a horrible feeling. But I'm pretty good at taking my pills, but yeah, if you forget, oh, it sucks.
I think, like, whenever you have an issue like these issues, it's really important to have your spouse or your family members understand them. And it's really hard when you're with a spouse or a family member that does not understand them. By that, I mean, like, they don't have to have the same problem, but just to understand this particular illness. And um, I've seen a world of difference between the people that do have that and
I'm
then,
lucky
yeah.
because my girlfriend, her family members are all firefighters, so they have not as acute as I have, but I can tell by talking to them they have mild forms of operational stress injury, right? So I get along with them just great.
I remember, I don't know, it's more like, say, back in uh, early 2011, like, you tried putting me on, what was it, a Rivermean or something like that? And I was like, really? I mean, I'm at a homeless shelter and getting raped in the group shower. You'd think this drug is going to do the damn thing for me. I tried it anyway, and of course it didn't. Go ahead.
But the thing is, taking a drug isn't necessarily going to be the end all be all. For myself, I did CBT training, and that has assisted me quite a bit. So it's not just about it.
That's cognitive behavioral therapy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did that, and I probably would have crashed a lot harder if I didn't have that additional training, right? So, um,
I got a feeling that, no drug is going to make you happy while you're homeless.
well, I don't think so either. But
Certainly nothing legal.
I think that a little therapy also goes a long way as well because they provide you tools that assist you in trying to make other decisions. And the thing was, even with when I did CBT, it was like things that I was aware of, but they brought it forward to me, and it made me pay attention to it more than if I didn't have the training, right? So
I gotta tell you, cognitive therapy did help me. And I am still a work in progress, and I'm not like, oh, it's a miracle, I've been healed. It's not quite like that, but I would say that I definitely gained a lot more coping skills than I had before.
yeah, a lot of insight, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know, my kind of general experience in areas that when there are like substantive, material, actual, real situational factors, that, oh, well, I'm not going to feel good about, and, well, who really would? These things have been, pressed on me as, part of a, I don't know, in some respects, a sort of substitute for alleviating any of the bad things being done to me or imposed on me, and in others, sort of, literal blame the victim angle, where, oh, well, geez, your deranged thought process is, well, number one, your fault because you're, of course, doing it all wrong, and number two, in some turn the cart before the horse and say, your emotional reaction to how bad what's going on is the ultimate cause of bad things going on as opposed to the effect. Go ahead.
Well,
Yeah.
I never thought as CBT as telling me I was doing anything wrong. It just gave me another angle to work on things. You know, during the whole time I was doing that type of therapy, they didn't ever criticize my methods. They just opened up new avenues of approach.
I agree. So what my experience in cognitive therapy showed me was that actually most of us have natural coping techniques that we go to. For instance, a natural technique for me, which might make somebody else weirded out, would be when things get bad or I get nervous or whatever. A coping technique I use is a certain kind of form of humor where I go, well, if it wasn't this, it'd be something else, or it could get worse. This could happen, and like I might even blow up like a ridiculous situation, just to say it could be worse. We may have had an earthquake, but it could have been worse. A big tsunami could have came up and wiped us out too. Like I don't know. Like I have a very bizarre sense of humor that way, and I know that's a bad example, but when it kicks in, it helps me kind of make that giant that I'm facing a little bit shorter. But other people sometimes it has the opposite result and they're just like, oh my gosh, you just increased my anxiety. But that is like a form of coping, so to speak, that I naturally will veer to, and it's one of the few ways. And a lot of us have several different ways, and that would be one way that I naturally go to is that kind of form of humor, sort
Yeah,
of mocking my demons.
Yeah, I
and the
was.
way you cope with these things using CBT varies on the individuals. There's a lot of, all the exercises are generic, but it's all about it's at the end of the day it's what works for each person, right? Because the goal is to make them functional and be able to adapt to whatever situation they're in. So my coping methods that I learned from CBT are going to be nothing like or sorry, very not very similar to other people's, but the whole idea of recognizing what to do and what to do when you come into these particular circumstances are going to be the same.
Yeah.
like I'm just gonna point out I see Nadia, maybe my guess would be a coping mechanism that you use that I had to learn I don't naturally have. um let's see, hang on a second.
I was just going to
um
say, if you don't mind the interruption, it'll be brief, I promise.
Go ahead.
I was taught a number of techniques, like breathing techniques and stuff, for dealing with panic attacks if they happen, And one interesting thing my doctor told me was, you have a Xanax on you and you're having a panic attack, just chew the tablet because if you get it under your tongue and dissolve it very quickly, it absorbs faster into your system than it does through the stomach. And that was kind of funny because I was like, do you have any idea how bitter these things taste? They are horrible. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, I had to look up and remember the way it was written, but a coping technique that I sometimes wonder if Nadia uses naturally is called acceptance paradox, and it's instead of defending your own self-criticisms, you find truth in them, and you accept your shortcomings with tranquility and tell yourself, it's true that I have this problem or this inadequacy. In fact, there's very little or anything about me that couldn't be improved considerably. And for some people, that is a calming technique. And I wonder, Nadia, do you think that you use acceptance paradox?
Um, I don't know. Maybe it could be qualified as that. I sure as hell can't lie to myself.
It almost sounds Buddhist, almost like okay, I totally accept this as this is just fact.
I don't know. I don't want to sound offensive or anything here because it's not intended that way, but when Nadia's been in a low mood, which happens to us all, uh, and she's reciting the things that are not going to happen for her, and the things she is hating, uh, it's like clearly, she's aware of them and all, but I wouldn't say she is accepting in the form of uh,
Acceptance doesn't mean you enjoy it.
no, it doesn't mean you enjoy it. That's true. That's definitely nothing along those lines. And I'm again, my language is failing me here. Uh, it comes across as self-loathing, but
I think of it as, or what I would think as being defeatist attitude.
yeah,
Right.
To us, that would be on the outside. If we don't use that naturally, we might think that's defeatist and self-loathing, but maybe to Nadia, that is a form of.
Well, it may be a form of. I think it's probably therapeutic that she's expressing it rather than just bottling it up.
I feel like I'm talking about you in third person, and I feel uncomfortable. I'm sorry, Nadia. Like I just realized, but no. Back to just plain coping techniques. Like I think we all default to different ones, and if you want to look at it, you can look it up. Just Google 50 Ways to Untwist Your Thinking by David Burns, who's a psychologist. He's cognitive therapy, and it was very interesting to me. I actually went through his book, and I found it helpful. Of course, I did it with a therapist, but it was interesting to me because I actually learned some different techniques that I don't naturally veer towards. Another thing is list making. Some people naturally will make a logical list of pros and cons. I don't know if anyone here does that.
I did it.
I don't naturally do that. I know that sounds like an illogical thing to say, but I don't naturally do that. I actually have to conscientiously try to do that because I won't naturally veer that way.
Yeah, I had to do it because it was just too deep, right? And started doing the pros and cons and everything else. And it helped.
I have great deal of difficulty finding the pros a lot of time. So
Well, that's why it helps to write it out, right?
Yeah, I've never actually had the list thing, but yeah, I think I would have a great deal of difficulty finding pros. Just I'm a
to
kind of a
change the
negative
subject
person.
a bit, anybody that lives in the city of Burnaby isn't a real human being, right? And I just want to make this.
Hi.
At least I'm not in Burnaby. Bro.
Hello, it's nice to see you. An alien here.
Or Nathaniel. I don't know if you like your name being shortened or not.
Oh, you can call me what, but Nathaniel works. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's nice to see you. How are you?
No, I'm going to assume that's a rhetorical, or should I just actually tell you how I am? Because how I am is still not very well.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I had a relative pass away last week, and
Oh, I'm sorry.
Still not
Sorry.
there.
Wow, that sucks. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, thank you. But other than that, the same as usual.
Well, I think an appropriate answer to how are you might be shitty, considering that's pretty harsh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so the 16-year-old girl that died in my family, guess how I found out she died?
How was that?
I read about it on the internet.
Oh. Was that a niece or something?
Yeah.
I got a text message.
Oh. However the message comes, it's bad news, right?
Well, I would have preferred a phone call, actually.
I found out my father died in a newspaper.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, well, sometimes this shit just how it goes down, right? Age of communication and all. Well, that's depressing. I have a question, maybe for Nadia, but anyone else can answer. I'm writing something, and I'm inquiring about a program, a government program or service that's mentioned in a regulation, and I'm wondering, does a regulation provide for a service? Does it create, like, how does that wording work?
A regulation is typically a guideline.
Now, in the regulation, it provides for a certain medical service I'm writing about, and I'm wondering, would I write it as provided by, as per the provisions of, or?
What I would definitely do is find the reference and put that in your footnote, right?
Oh yes.
So the thing is, find an exact quote in that regulation and then discuss that in whatever you're talking about, right?
Right.
Don't make an assumption.
Oh no, that's true. But what I'm trying to find out is just how to word a sentence where I reference it, where I say as per the provisions of. I'm going with as per.
No, what I would do in accordance with this regulation being whatever it is, this is what it says, and this is what I think.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, so the best thing to do is you can cite the resource, right? And maybe provide a link, which would be kind of cool for people to actually go and read it themselves.
Well, this is a letter to an individual who would be very familiar with the. Well, I have to hope they'd be familiar with the regulation, because I think they wrote it.
Here, I'll just break it down to you. So, in accordance with Regulation 1234, it states, quote, blah 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 blah, unquote. Then make your point.
All right. So one is a service would be in accordance with a regulation, not provided by, as provided by.
Well, I like using in accordance with, and the reason why I say in accordance with is because the regulation is a guideline, right?
That's right. Are you Canadian by chance?
I live in Vancouver.
Yeah, I hear a familiar accent.
Yeah, I live at Jericho Beach.
Oh, lovely. I used to stay at a hostel there back when I was really young, and I'd be visiting from Nanaimo.
Oh, okay, yeah. My girlfriend's parents live in Nanaimo.
Why? Are they from Alberta originally?
Nope, they're from Coquitlam.
Oh, yeah. Why would they want to live there? Why would they want to live in Nanaimo?
Things are cheaper out there, right? So.
That's true. They're definitely, it's a beautiful town, right? Like beautiful.
Oh, they're retired. So they live actually north of Nanaimo, Noris Bay. So.
Oh yeah, that is gorgeous. I used to go up there a lot as a kid, and
yeah.
They have money.
Yeah.
I had a psychiatrist when I was a child up at Noris Bay. He's dead now.
Thanks.
Fuck it. Yeah, he was a fucking witch doctor, I'll tell you. But anyway, he had a house that had a rotunda in it, and it was in Noris, and it had a rotunda and a brass rocking horse that I wasn't allowed to touch, and like beautifully tiled floor. Oh, it's a palace he lived in. Fucker.
So how come you have a picture of the Queen on the wall?
Oh, that's not the... Well, I have a picture of our Queen on the other wall. I'm trying to find the view. No, that's a picture of... that's Queen Fabiola and King Baudouin of the Belgians.
Oh, okay.
I'm part Belgian, and I like those... I just like them. They're like guiding parents, if you will, watching over me as I work, you know? They inspire me to do well, just looking at them. I've had that for years. I like it. It's familiar.
Yeah, they're good pictures.
Yeah, I like them. I think they were from the Belgian consulate, and then when it shut down, I grabbed them from an auction.
Nice.
Yeah, and then the Queen, I have her up on that other wall above one of my degrees.
Oh yeah, okay, that's one of her later pictures. I like her pictures after coronation.
Those are cool.
Yeah, yeah, she's all pretty and stuff, and yeah.
Well, that one's the old one. That one's from her Golden Jubilee back in 2002, and I don't.
Yeah, okay.
I like the more artistic ones. I like the artsy ones where she's just wearing plain clothes. I don't care for the rigmarole.
Yeah. And she's not much of a rigmarole person anyway.
She really isn't. She's very down to earth, and she doesn't care for the pageantry, if you will. She does it because it's her duty, but she prefers to dress down. And that's why one of the reasons she loves coming to Canada, because when she comes home to Canada, as she says, she gets to sort of wear very normal clothes. She doesn't really wear her crowns at all when she's around here. It's nice. And on her money, she's not wearing anything. And I think that's the only money that she appears on where she looks normal.
Yeah.
Okay, I've talked enough about the Queen. I have to shut up. I like her.
Yeah, so when you do your article there and you're going to reference something in accordance with, and then quote what you're going to, or what the quote is, and then your challenge to it or your comment, right?
Well, it's some BC healthcare services I'm trying to access, and I'm trying to get some information on it, and I'm having some difficulty finding that information. So I'm contacting someone to say I want some bloody information on this particular policy, this program, this services as in accordance with.
You should be able to find it because it is public policy, right? So it should be out there. Right.
It is there, but what the problem is that a lot of in British Columbia, like as you know, if you're British Columbian, which you are, is policy is meant to be interpreted, not, and it's up to various bureaucrats to sort of interpret it for you.
So maybe what you might also want to do is find other articles related to that and see how other people have interpreted it. So.
It's very loosey-goosey.
And you can also reference those articles too, right?
Yeah, it's pretty loosey-goosey. They're all over the map, and there's very.
You could always take some if there was any case law related to it or whatever. Also quote those and reference them as well, right?
Yeah, that's getting a little bit too arcane.
A little bit, yeah. It is a little bit more in depth. But you could always footnote it.
That's right. Yeah, no, I don't. The courthouse, the courthouse library. You can actually go there and search case law. It's great. Yeah. They have some awesome.
Check out if you're interested in law stuff or you ever run into it. Check out Ken Lee's website.
Oh yeah, they're good. Yeah. I don't really. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't really get.
No, but if you're ever trying to look for something that may be relevant when it comes to legal cases or something, it's a good reference, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm a reporter, so sometimes I have to write about these various case laws. Not too often. I go to court covering a story at the courthouse next week. That will be fun. I have to wear something ironed. And hopefully they let me use my laptop in there, because most of the sheriffs are nice, and they'll say, yeah, you can use your laptop, no problem, take notes on it. But some of them are like, no, it's disturbing to me.
Yeah, what they're worried about is recording devices and stuff like that, right? So.
Well, no, I don't have a recording device on my laptop. In fact, I got one made especially though it doesn't, right? Because I do cover courthouse from time to time, and
Yeah.
when they do object, it's because the typing noise bothers them.
Oh, okay.
And again, like the sheriff runs the courtroom, so you listen to him or her. It's their domain.
Yeah.
People don't realize that the sheriff calls the shots in the courtroom.
Oh yeah. I've been tased with him. I know.
You've been tased by them?
Yeah, just out of fun with them. So.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to be tased by them. I want to obey the law and be respectful of authority and.
Oh no! I didn't do anything to break the law. No. That was totally different circumstances.
I don't know. That's good. Now you're in Vancouver. Are you originally from here?
No, I'm from the Okanagan.
Uh-oh. You escaped.
Yeah.
I fucking hate. I love the Okanagan in general. Like.
Oh, it's so hot there. Yeah. Like I didn't realize how hot it was there until I moved here. So, yeah, it's like it's the northern tip of the California desert, right?
That's right.
And it's freaking insanely hot. You know, it's like.
It feels like California in the summer, really. The interior of California, anyway. Are you from Penticton, Vernon, Kelowna?
I originally grew up in Oliver, and I moved up to Vernon. But yeah, I'm very familiar with Penticton. I spent a lot of time there. So.
Oliver, I did a story about Oliver some years back. Where was it? Oliver, yeah. I was covering some human rights tribunal case in Kelowna, and one of the incidents took place in Oliver.
Oh yeah.
Gorgeous country, gorgeous. Kelowna, I will put on the record, I don't like.
Kelowna's interesting, but yeah, I spent a lot of time there too. So
it's too white. It's just so many white people, not much diversity.
Yeah, not much diversity in Kelowna, no.
And it has a lot of the shitty things about a big city, but few, if any, of the benefits. Like I had a heck of a time. I did not enjoy it too much. Penticton is gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Yeah. Gorgeous. 2 lakes. Nice lakes.
Beautiful area.
Nice and hot. Especially during the summer. And
fantastic wineries.
And women are loose and free there.
Well, they got that nude beach they're fighting to keep, right? 3 Mile Beach or whatever.
Towards Nanaimo, yeah. I've been reading about that. It seems like a very dumb battle that people are putting up, you know.
Oh, no, Penticton, I'm saying, there's that nude beach on the lake.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, it's out towards Naramata, actually.
Yeah.
And people are being very not very nice about having that beach there. So
yeah, people are very prudish. I mean, I wouldn't want to go to a nude beach, but you know what? It's just the body. Nobody's being hurt. There's nothing wrong with it.
Well, it's in a very secluded area, right? It's some of the locals are objecting to it. That's the problem.
Yeah, I was covering something about that in the last year, and I was just like, oh, this is such garbage. Like people.
Yeah.
I don't see why we have to wear bathing suits at the beach if it's hot and you just want to go naked. Why the hell not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not
I wouldn't mind watching half of the women in Penticton go nude at the beach anyways.
It's more about, I think, comfort and just sort of, and it's not a sexual thing. It's just people enjoying being naked, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't like being naked. I'm shy, I guess, but and hairy.
I find it awkward when a guy without pants tries to come and talk to me. I mean, this has happened twice to me because the best surfing spot.
And the first guy was your husband?
No. Like, we used to go surfing at a place called Black's Beach here in San Diego, which is a private nude beach, but it had really good surfing. And so we'd go surfing, and as you'd go in, it's like, okay, people are jogging, people are playing volleyball, laying out, whatever. But then, like, some guy would, like, walk up and try to talk to you, and you're like, oh, this is just awkward. I don't want to talk to you because you have no pants on. And then if it doesn't necessarily mean it's sexual, but it's just awkward. I don't know. And so some of us are just like, you know, this is not my scene. And sand's in places where sand shouldn't be, and
Yeah.
you know.
So
I
you
think it's
go
awesome.
to a nude beach to surf, and you don't
And
expect a nude
yeah,
guy to talk to you.
well, you go to the beach and surf, and then you just take your surfboard and you leave the new beach. But like because you're a girl, some guy decides that they want to talk to you. It's annoying.
That would be a
Did
little
he,
awkward.
Well, actually,
did
the
he
gay
have a
guys were never annoying
behemoth?
because the gay guys were too busy playing hot, sexy volleyball with each other. So, like whatever. Like they would you know play volleyball and they'd rake up the seaweed and play volleyball and hang out with themselves. But the
Did it
guys that
fit?
were hetero would try to go talk to the girls and we're like, we're just surfing. Don't mind us. We're gonna go now.
Did it fit the definition of behemoth in the Bible?
What?
No, the only there was this guy that was jogging down the beach and like he was like I just didn't know that you could be hung like that. I just didn't know that was possible. And the man was an ox.
Are you
An
saying your
ox.
husband's small?
No. I'm saying that this thing was like a third leg.
Oh my goodness.
Like a tripod?
Yes, oh, it was so big that you would think that it was a medical condition.
That's interesting. Are there any
While
public?
jogging. Just
Are-
while- probably
Would you kiss it?
Is there any chance you could introduce me to him?
Sorry, I let that guy go. He was black, actually.
Ooh, well, that's Nadia's type.
He was broad-shouldered, black, good looking, but like
Nice.
we were like, I was like, oh
Did
my
you touch
goodness.
it?
No. I saw it and I was like, holy crap, and I just like was gonna pretend not to notice, and then my friend just went on and on and on how she's never seen a white guy like that, and I was like, what? but yeah, awkward moments at the nude beach. Here's another nude beach story. My friend went there and ran into his father. And his father said, don't tell your mom. Don't tell your mom. Whatever you do, don't tell your mom.
That's funny, actually. I like that one.
So
think
you only went to the nude beach for the good surf?
Yeah, I had clothes on too. It's not like they're gonna kick you out for having clothes on. A
I went-
wetsuit.
We have a public nude beach in Vancouver, and I went to it once when I was 19, and that was awkward. Like I shared your awkward, like talking to a guy whose balls are like
Rec
above
beach,
your.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's talking to you about his mother, and his balls are there, and that's all you can think about. It's,
Balls.
yeah, it was not sexy. It was awkward, and I was like, yeah, this is weird. It was unfamiliar. It was unfamiliar for me.
And to be
Well,
honest,
yeah, that kind of. I'm not exposing the wrong parts, and given that they'll probably never be fixed, well, I might as well be the Book of the Witch of the West.
Boo.
But you still have eyes.
did you just say you still have eyes? Like that
No.
made it better?
Well, Nadia, you can be a looky-loo.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I mean, like I said, me and my friend, we had
Yeah.
wetsuits, so.
Yeah. There's hope yet, Nadia.
You know what was fantastic about it though?
What's that?
Like San Diego's got kind of we're not like the largest, gay culture, but we have a pretty decently sized and there's like the hippie guys that go to the nude beach, and then there's like the really overweight women, and I guess they're hippies too. And there was a big prominence of gay men at the beach, and they would break up the seaweed and make it all pretty. So they would be naked with rakes, raking up the seaweed, which was fantastic, I guess. And so the beach would be all cleaned up, and then they'd play volleyball, and it just always cracked me up because they raked it and all.
That's cute. So they would
It's
have
like,
the
it's
sand.
like yeah, it's like my theory that like the best neighbors are gay neighbors. Just
Yeah.
it's just one of those funny stereotypes. It's probably not true, but it just seems true sometimes.
Yeah, I hear ya. Apparently, there's a lot of the gay communities in the United States sort of are kind of nicer than the surrounding areas. I've been told.
Yeah, I mean, the, there's a town, like, there's a place called Hillcrest here in San Diego, and that is our quote-unquote gay district. And great restaurants. I mean,
Yeah.
5-star restaurants, or maybe like hole in the wall restaurants, but everybody loves it. Obviously there's a bar scene, which I mean, like not really my scene, but
Mhm.
like even it's safe. You feel safe there. You don't feel like someone's gonna harm you. I mean, it's not a bad area.
Where do you feel like someone's going to harm you? Like, which neighborhood would you go in for that in LA or somewhere? Like, 'cause I've
Well,
heard that.
Compton.
in San Diego, sometimes parts of National City, parts of like South San Diego, and LA, Compton, Watts. LA has a lot of areas actually, now I think about it.
I don't
LA.
even know an area around here that's even like that.
Well, I mean, maybe Granville Street, when all those drunk straight guys come in from Surrey on Saturday night. That's a bit sketchy, but other than that,
I've never had a problem there.
I was talking
I
to
well, like as like I haven't myself, but like when I've been around people who are very visibly queer or gender non-conforming, there have been some pretty scary incidents, and with Granville Street alcohol, young man from Surrey.
I like Surrey girls.
Oh, you are nasty.
I was talking to a Canadian gamer friend, and he's like show me the ghetto, show me the ghetto, because he was trying to say that everything was ghetto that wasn't. And I was like, that's not the ghetto, like, and I know that's probably the bad term to use, but that was the term he
In
was
the
using.
ghetto.
He's like, show me a rundown area, like a scary area. And I was like, okay. So I took him to a certain spot in LA. He dropped his little man down, and he's like, holy crap! I think people are stealing the car. The Google map is like he's like, there's no fences. There's no, oh my gosh, is that a car in the front yard? Like on the blocks? Like he's just like, yeah, I told you. Like this is what poverty in the inner city looks like. And then from there, it's poverty in the inner city. Sometimes there's desperation.
Yeah, a lot of like lack of public services too.
But he's from Vancouver, I
Yeah.
want to say. Yeah. And he showed me his neighborhood, and it was like pristine and nice and expensive looking.
Well, that's the thing I notice is that when I
That's
go to
Vancouver.
when you go to Seattle, it's like people are like, I'll say, oh, I'm in a fucking ghetto. Like I use your friend's language to describe this neighborhood, and then I'm finding out that all the apartments on the street are $800,000 a piece. So they have these gentrified neighborhoods, but they don't make them nice. The area smells like piss. It's teeming with crackheads and unemployed, like homeless people. It's really sad, and it's really it's too bad. But I'm told that this is not ghetto. That ghetto is something apparently far worse.
Yeah, yeah. But I heard that Toronto is pretty dirty of a city in Canada. I don't know. I've never been.
Toronto's got some rough areas to be sure, yeah, but they have like these the 1960s era public housing like blocks reminiscent of the UK. Regent Park, that's what it's called, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but that's nothing even close to being the projects of like some of the U.S. places, right?
What's
So,
Oh
crazy
no.
about projects in San Diego is the projects are often really nice. But projects in LA aren't always nice, which is very interesting. It's something I've noticed.
I'm trying to find like a really bad area, and there's some pretty rough areas of Winnipeg, I think.
yeah, North Winnipeg. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, like it's not really the same. Like you don't feel like you're gonna get killed or attacked. It's not dangerous.
I don't even know a dangerous place.
Oh.
I heard people say there's undesirable places, but
Oh
never
yeah.
like places that somebody would be shy of. You know, like look at even like East Hastings in Vancouver.
Oh yeah.
Have you been down there lately?
Well, I live on
Jesus.
Hastings
Oh yeah, it's
in
totally
Burnaby.
cleaned up.
In Burnaby.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, okay.
you're not in danger. It's a very low income area with a lot of concentration of services geared towards people who are homeless or otherwise marginal, and it looks scary from people who've never been there before, but it's not. You're not going to get attacked. You're not going to get robbed. It's safe.
Yeah. Yeah, it does look pretty scary if you didn't know anything, but the thing is, it's actually a pretty safe area.
Well, it's got like the highest density, I think, of police beats of anywhere in Greater Vancouver. I think there's like 88 patrols. I mean, you're safe. But
oh yeah, there's cops there all the time.
and you got some real good cops down there too. Like I've spoken to some real nice ones over the years.
Yeah. No, there's destitute people down there, but they're not like horrible people, you know.
No, they're humans. They're destitutes. They've got issues. We've got issues. You know, and it's sad. What's sad is that what really pisses me off is how, you know, like 20 years ago, the discussion here was around drug addiction, getting people, you know, treatment and so forth. And now the discussion is about where the fuck are people going to live? Where we have so many people who just don't have homes, who are sleeping out in, you know, rough shod conditions or infested.
Well, the other good thing that we have too is these safe injection sites, right? Where they can monitor people and stuff like that, and give them clean needles and stuff. And that's done a lot of good too. So. Well,
that's pretty much eliminated like the HIV infection rates in drug injection drug users down there. So that's been a amazing and wonderful like policy that was coordinated by all levels of government. That was federal, municipal. They all worked together to try to build a strategy to reduce HIV infections, and it worked.
But the federal government seems to be the biggest hindrance in the whole thing. But
oh yeah. No, it's not. But yeah, so. But yeah, I just wish, you know, I wish we had better governments at the federal and provincial level. I'm not a fan of either of them.
Well, the provincial one, even though they call themselves liberals, they're more conservative than anything. So.
Well, they're pretty freaking awful, and I can't believe the NDP blew the last election. They were supposed to win it. Oh, are you following Alberta? What's happening now? They might.
Yeah, they have a bunch of stuff going on right now. Yeah. 44 years of conservative rule might be coming to an end there at the hands of Rachel Notley and the NDP. Well, I'm not a big fan of the NDP because I find they're fiscally irresponsible. If they were able to actually be able to balance or keep a balanced budget, then probably they'd be...
Look here to Burnaby. Look here to Burnaby. We have been under the NDP at the municipal level for, I think, 30, 40 years, and we have, I think, some of the best economy of any city in the province. Like, I think there's like $2 billion in, about whatever you call the reverse of debt in surplus. Like, we're very financially good, and we're NDP. So it's not every NDP administration that's financially inept. And frankly, look at how the Liberals have done. Are we in a great financial position after 14 years of Margaret Thatcher light?
Well, you're taking that's pretty extreme. I don't think it's that bad.
No, actually it is. It is. You know, when I grew up in foster care, right, and I aged out of the system when they took power, they eliminated so many services and programs to the most vulnerable people. They screwed so many people over.
Oh, you can think. I know exactly who to blame for that. Ujjal Assange.
No, I'm talking about this was after Gordon Campbell took over.
Yeah, but Ujjal Assange is actually the guy that's responsible for a lot of those things that you're talking about.
No, he wasn't. It was after he was his administration was voted out. This was after the Liberals won the election. This was their policy. It was because they were trying to trim down the state. They wanted people to get off the government dole and get off their ass and work, right?
Yes, I understand what you're saying, but a lot of that healthcare stuff was paved on his trying to save money, right?
This wasn't. I'm not talking about healthcare. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about services to vulnerable children and youth, and specifically, and that's just one example. Ujjal Dosanjh, he wasn't even in for very long. He was he wasn't able to do that.
Health minister for the province before he even had anything else going on, right? So.
Well, he was Attorney General, I thought. I didn't know he was Health Minister. I remember him being Attorney General, and then
he was part of health, right? So.
Oh. For like a nanosecond, and that was a disaster. He was my MLA.
Mm.
Really nice guy. Really nice guy.
Oh, I'm sure he's a nice guy.
No, he was the Canadian Minister of Health, that's for sure. Let's see. When was he Health Minister? Responsible for horror. No, I know he wasn't. He was the federal health minister. It looks like in the 2000s. He's done well for himself.
Oh yeah. He's done now though. He's finished politics, right?
Oh, you never know. They always do come back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Guess who I got to meet actually last year was Kim Campbell.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting talking to her.
When I was growing up, I grew up in a house that was either next door or 2 doors down, actually, from where where she was raised, basically, where her grandparents lived. And I remember there were stories about her growing up in like her family. Like she's like really rooted on the island. Like her ancestors came to Nanaimo in like the 1880s, and
yeah,
they're pretty good people, from what I've been told. And so I remember when she became prime minister, we were so excited that a Vancouver Islander had from the island kind of became prime minister of Canada. That was a real big deal.
Yeah,
I still have a letter from her.
Yeah, she's a very nice lady. I enjoyed my conversation with her. I tried to escape from her, but no. Well, it was just a wrong time, wrong place. It just happened to be a chance meeting.
How did you meet her? That's so cool.
Yeah, no. She was at at our mess, and so we were there, and I look over, and she's like, I just happened to be finished work on a Friday drinking in the mess, and I look over and there's Kim Campbell, and I'm like a few sheets into the wind, so I decided to go talk to her. And she was drinking wine and stuff like that, so I was like, oh, okay, I'm all game. I could like chat her up. So.
And so what did she say?
Oh, I asked her. Well, I talked to her mostly about her being prime minister and stuff like that, right? So
she was the defense minister when they started to allow gay people into the army. She was the one who made that happen.
Yeah, well, and then she became the prime minister after. Oh shit! What's his name? Brian
Mulroney.
Yeah.
How can you forget him?
Unfortunately, she wasn't elected prime minister, but she was our first female prime minister. I didn't think she was all that bad.
Well, she was pretty awful, but she we're not the prime minister it's not an elected position, so nobody's elected to be prime minister.
No, exactly. It's not like the States, right? So.
Yeah. I'm trying to find my letter from her when she sent me a letter when she was prime minister, and I still have it somewhere here. But she was really cool. I mean, I think she's probably one of our most educated prime ministers. She's very cerebral, very smart, very, 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 really fucking smart.
Yeah, she was really nice. It was pleasant to talk to.
It was. I think she was a victim of time and circumstance. I think under different circumstances, she would have been a very good prime minister, and rather than being the fall person for Mulroney, to take his fall, really.
Yeah, exactly. She just filled the spot until the next election, right? So.
That was too bad, because she nearly became premier of British Columbia. She was in the cabinet of Van der Zalm, and she made a public stand against him about abortion because he wanted to take away those rights, and she was like, "No, thank you." I think she was a principled politician, and again, I think it's unfortunate that she couldn't have had a real shot at it,
Yeah.
So, what was she? I guess you're in the military?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wake up.
Good morning.
Can anybody
Holy
hear me?
shit, Art! Did you just fucking wake up or what?
Oh no, I was awake. No, I thought that you're in Germany. I thought you were a tank commander, you said, in Germany?
No, Canada. No, we were talking about Germany because of the timeline when von Helton was talking to me.
Oh, you were a tank commander in Germany.
No, not me in Germany. I'm just an armored commander, right? But we were talking about Germany because we were talking about timelines and stuff like that, right? So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Art, are you drinking vodka yet or what?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's fucking Monday. No drinking for me until the
You don't
fucking
drink?
weekend.
Oh.
I have strict rules, man.
You don't drink on Monday?
Nope. Although
Where
I
are
want
you?
to.
Is that what it's like in Czechoslovakia?
It's Czech Republic, for fuck's sake.
I know. I've been dying to say that to you for like weeks.
Oh, fuck. It's like, it's Czech Republic. It hasn't been Czechoslovakia for like 2,000 years.
I like Czechoslovakia. Are you Slavic?
Well, I'm Russian. It's a Slovenian kind of, Slovak kind of
So
region.
you're Slav?
No, well, you could say that, I guess.
I'm just teasing you, man.
I found out recently.
Art, real quick. Art, when I was 14, a Slavic guy tried to pick me up, and he was like 30 something, and I was like, and then I went and told somebody, and they're like, oh, that's just how they are.
You know Slavic guys are hung like a horse, right?
Not all of them.
Well, most of them. I'm just talking from experience here.
Nah. Well, I'm gonna stop talking. But
Art, have you touched a few?
No, I'm talking from my personal experience.
Oh. Do you use more than 2 fingers?
Huh?
Do you use more than 2 fingers?
for what?
Yeah, I'm confused. Look for what?
Yeah,
For
Art,
stroke,
are you a
right?
sub or a switch or what?
Yeah, what? I didn't have my first coffee yet, so I'm kind of having trouble following.
He's
Oh,
making
do
a,
you just-
You haven't had your first vodka yet? Oh, come on, hurry up.
It's
Oh,
Monday.
he's saying you have a small dick, basically, Thor. He says,
Well, fuck you, Vodka. Yeah,
I
I mean,
know.
really, the guy who drives a giant fucking armored vehicle tells me that I'm have a small dick. I mean, I would say that you're compensating for something there.
Oh, no, it was just the way that the enrollment worked out, right? Have you ever sat in a T-55, man?
Nope, but I did see
Oh,
that.
jeez.
They have a huge cannon. I guess compensating for something.
No, they're freaking small fucking tanks, man. But I was listening to you talk about the what was it, the T-14, T-15 the other day?
Oh yeah. It's gonna be on the parade.
Do you have a link or something to those? Like one of your communist type links that you subscribe to?
Communist. Like the evil communist propaganda links. For...
Send me one of your communist parade links there, so I could see one of those versus like the NATO link.
I found the letter. I found the letter from Kim Campbell, whatever your name is, Bothika. Here it is. It's from Kim Campbell from 1993 when she was Prime Minister during the 3 months.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she wrote me a letter. Isn't that nice?
Oh, that's awesome.
Prime Minister.
Oh, nice.
January or August 1993. And she says, thank you very much for your kind letter. It is always a pleasure for me to receive mail from young people such as you. My colleagues and I now look forward to building an even brighter future for all Canadians. Blah, 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 blah. And she sent me like this package of really cool shit that I don't have anymore.
You just threw it away.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not a hoarder, right? I mean, I kept the letter, right? That's pretty good.
Well, I don't know. You look like a hoarder. Look at all the stuff behind you.
Well, that is stuff I use. These are books.
I'm just bugging you, man.
I could talk out of class and say I live with a hoarder, but I won't, because that would be gossiping, and I don't gossip about people I live with. People I live with who don't.
You use that ironing board behind you?
I sure do. Yeah. I mean, I cover the courthouse, right? And I have to wear something ironed.
How come you didn't iron that sweater that you're wearing?
Because it's something I wear around the house. I don't give a shit. And you don't iron sweaters.
I'm just teasing you, man.
Like, I want to see your. I want to see your face. I want to see what you look like.
You see it right there in the picture, man.
Oh, let's see.
Like Bullet Bill.
I know. See, we're on uneven footing here, right? Yeah.
It wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, like, there's no... Yeah, you're an infidel, apparently. That's good.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
I'm an infidel.
Right on. Well, you're my friend then. Then you're a friend of mine.
Well, Boyka, I don't have any communist links, like in red letters, with a star, but, I have a normal wiki link if you want. There's the link.
Oh, okay, I'm familiar. I think I've seen you talk. Okay. So it's like basically the same chassis, just different ideas, right? So
right, it's a sort of, it's going to be a universal platform, kind of like what the Americans are doing.
So like
change a few things.
7 road wheels, tight track on it, same type of a basic hull.
The infantry fighting vehicle is going to be interesting because it's going to be basically a heavy tank with a crew compartment.
Yeah, I'm very interested in knowing what they're going to use as a turret and a gun on it.
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, I know that both the tank and the infantry fighting vehicle will have a remote-controlled turret, so there's going to be no crew in it. And the crew compartments, at least for the driver, commander, and the gunners, are going to be like in a capsule.
Oh, okay. So it's going to be like, we use a system called RWS, right? So, remote weapon system. We use that for certain vehicles where the gun is controlled from down inside the hull. We also have we were going to actually employ a mobile gun system where it was actually just a gun on top of a hull, but the crew is actually within the chassis, the vehicle itself. So they're lowering the crew down even lower to give them more protection, right?
Oh yeah. I think that's the sort of basic solution in here as well. They focus right now on survival, so the tank will not have like much internally loaded ammunition. It's going to be mostly outside, so that you don't have the sort of typical secondary explosions if you know T-72s.
Oh yeah. That's always, we call it brewing up.
Yeah. It's like basically no matter where you hit it, if you penetrate it, you probably hit the the actual munition, and the whole the whole turret would just explode.
Basically it just pops, right? And and it incinerates the crew inside. Yeah, it's a big threat. No, that's pretty cool. I'm very interested in the infantry fighting vehicle though, because they have the turret systems tarped off on these vehicles, so I'm kind of interested.
Apparently, it's going to be a boomerang. It's called a boomerang, remote controlled turret with a 30mm automatic cannon, 500 rounds, 4 Cornet missiles on the side, with 4 launchers already ready to fire.
I think the M1 Abrams has its magazine behind.
They have it in the
an
bustle.
armored door and a vent system above the magazine, so if the magazine gets hit, the explosive energy is generally focused away from the crew compartment.
Yeah, it's typical in a lot of armored vehicles that they have a nowadays that the ammo is stored in the bustle of the turret. So,
right. Although what that in the T-72s and the T-90 tanks, that arrangement allowed for a much lower silhouette tank, and you have the automatic loader, so you can load every ammunition automatically if you have the carousel.
Do you know what the problem is with the? I'm familiar with the carousel loader. One of the problems with an auto loader is that it could accidentally automatically load somebody's arm into the breach if they weren't within their crew area. So
right. It's an issue. There was the issue with the T-72s.
Is that why the M1 Abrams is still manually loaded?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm stunned to hear, like French, Israelis, everyone, they have all these auto-loading tanks, but the M1 Abrams, our most advanced tank, requires a loader, an actual human being, to lift 75-kilogram shells from the skirted off area and shove.
I can give you a lot of different reasons why some people like autoloaders and some people do not, right? For one, it gives you an extra crew member, right? So if you're not actually actively loading rounds in, you have a secondary gunner on top of your armored vehicle, right? The other reason too is if you have an autoloader, it's one more mechanical thing that could possibly break down during battle, right? So that's why some people don't like using autoloaders either. So there's trade-offs, right? It's either one more crew member or an autoloader, right? So you got to keep those things in mind.
Yeah, there's advantages and disadvantages to both systems.
Yeah, I'm not clear with the autoloaders, and I don't remember the name of the French tank that I saw on Military Channel. Was it Clark? Okay. I wasn't clear whether the turret had to point itself forward again for the autoloader to load it, or it was a 360-degree affair.
It's typically autoloaders are typically elevation, not necessarily direction. So what they'll do?
Yeah, go ahead.
What they'll do is they'll drop down to a certain elevation, the autoloader will kick in, and then it elevates back up. But even in the Leopard 2, it does the exact same thing, just to make it easier for the loader to actually load the round in.
Yeah, I've never seen a tank having the need of pointing forward. I did notice that it has to lower the turret a little bit for the autoloader.
No, not the turret, the gun.
Yeah,
Right. What it does is you got to remember the breech is if the gun lowers, the breech raises, right? Because the breech is inside the vehicle, so
it's more level, and you're not pushing uphill.
Right.
No, it's not. It's not uphill. It's just how the mechanisms all work. So if you have an autoloader, it loads in at a certain angle, so the gun drops to a certain angle where the autoloader shoots the round in. right, into the breech, right? So the thing is, it only does it, you don't want the autoloader to adjust. It's easier for the gun to adjust to the autoloader, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And yeah, then if you, even with now, like, even with a four-man crew where you have a manual loader, you have guys, they're taking the rounds off the ready rack and shoving it into the breech. Well, it's a lot easier to shove it around in the breech when the gun is close to level versus it being way up in the air, right?
Well, that's
Because you punch in a 120 round, right, into the breech. It's a lot harder if you have to push it uphill versus like it being close to, like, you know, level, right?
right. That's what I meant earlier when I said, you know, it's easier than having to push it uphill.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm impressed
so,
by also how quickly the Leopard tank can rotate its turret a full 360 degrees.
well, it's all hydraulics, right? A lot of tanks can do the same thing. It's just efficiency of the gears and the hydraulics, right? So
Right. But I mean, it can really turn so it can engage a target close by rather than having to track something further away.
well, the thing is, you want to see something that can track stuff good. A lot of Russian tanks are notorious for being low profile tanks, right? They don't have the height that a lot of NATO tanks have. And so these fuckers, they can hide behind like the lowest crest ever, including almost a false crest, and still be able to keep their hull low, right? Russian tanks are pretty hard to hit, right? So,
Yeah,
but
that was the
there's
main purpose of the carousel and the whole actually autoloader to minimize that. And even the Russian, what is it? I know I know that almost all airborne vehicles like the BMD and
Yeah.
the Sprut have a hydraulic suspension, which allows them to lower even lower. They are literally can sit on the fucking ground, which makes them just twice as lower silhouette than any Western analog. And I know of some land vehicles as well, like the Tank Hunter Sprut, I think it's called, the newer one, which is a light vehicle with a heavy gun.
It's like a mobile artillery piece rather than.
I'm gonna be AFK for a few seconds.
Okay. Well, it's not an artillery piece. Sprut is a tank hunter. It's a light vehicle. It can swim, and it still has the. I think it's a 100mm gun, which still has enough firepower to threaten any main battle tank.
I think an 88 firing a solid shell will probably penetrate any tank armor. But I know with the big 120s they use sabot rounds, so the actual projectile is a considerably smaller diameter than the barrel anyway.
Right.
But the additional volume you get allows a much greater powder charge.
Right. I'm just looking at the. Okay, what kind of gun does it have? Oh no, actually, holy shit, no. It actually has a 125mm smoothbore gun. So it has a normal tank gun on a light vehicle chassis.
Yeah, the big guns tend to be smooth bores and fin guided because it's just a more durable arrangement.
Not only that, it's actually more accurate if you have fin stabilization. I've heard they made some tests. Actually, if you don't have the rifling, it makes it more accurate if you have just the fin stabilization.
Are you talking about sabot rounds, smoothbore, and sorry, I just got back on and I caught your little tidbit there.
Yeah, well, smoothbore sabot rounds
versus rifled.
Yeah, because you don't need the rifling bands. You don't have to worry about twist rates and such. And you could probably arrange for, well, you could probably even arrange for a close to recoilless system if you wanted to develop something where you fired, instead of firing just the shell, fired a shell plus rocket engine out so that it clears the barrel and then ignites the rocket engine and it fires, and then that's where it picks up its speed and uses some, follows your laser targeting system to the target.
Hey, Art, I was a little disappointed in something that you were talking. Somebody was criticizing that the Russians stole technology to advance themselves.
Okay, well, just you can Nadia, have a feedback.
Yeah, I was trying to get in and ask whether this was guy talk.
Sort of.
It was definitely above my head.
I'm sure there are women who appreciate artillery.
Yeah, I mean, Nadia, are you saying that women are not interested in guns? Come on, that's misogyny. That's just pure misogyny.
I know a lot of women that are. I'm taking my girlfriend to a house breaching course with shotgun later this year.
There we go. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're serving Queen and country. It's nice to know that you're doing that.
Thank you.
Wait, Michael, what did you say about the Russian stealing technology? Something?
Oh, that was me. So somebody was picking on you about that the Russians stole technology, and you had commented about the rocket engines and stuff that were more efficient than American rocket engines. But there was actually another technology that you totally neglected to mention, which was actually pivotal to American technology, which is helicopters.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, Sikorsky. It's actually yeah. It's Sikorsky actually moved to America, right? That's
right. So remember, always remind Americans that they wouldn't have helicopters if it wasn't for the Russians, right? So
yeah, if you don't mind, since you mentioned Sikorsky, there was a brilliant retort he gave to a reporter. The reporter asked him, "When are helicopters going to be as efficient as fixed-wing aircraft?" And Sikorsky replied, "The answer is never, but helicopters can do things that fixed-wing aircraft simply cannot do."
Right. Yeah. Vertical takeoff and landing.
Yeah, and not to mention hovering, not to mention landing in ridiculously inaccessible locations, being an aerial gun platform. I mean, the best tank killers are usually the helicopters. I think the A-10 is pretty much the only fixed-wing aircraft that I would consider to be a really good tank killer.
No, I would say the Frogfoot. The Frogfoot is, like, out of anything that I learned as an armored crewman, the thing that I fear the most is the Frogfoot.
Oh,
I fear that over an
A-10.
A-10.
That one. Because I know the Warthog was just absolutely devastating.
No, the Frogfoot is way smaller profile. It holds way more armament. I'm sure Art can elaborate a lot more on it than I can.
Well, I'm not that much familiar, but yeah, I've noticed, at least in some sort of pictures, that it has much more, hard connecting points, for the ammunition. I think up to 10.
Yeah, the A-10 only holds 4 hard points, so it can hold 4 Hellfires or Zuni setups. And of course, its most famous feature really is the 30mm Gatling gun with 7 barrels. But it only has a 1,200 round drum.
Yeah, but it's, the Gatling gun, while is it impressive, it's a sort of, you have to aim it. It depends on a lot of sort of factors. Missiles are much more reliable. The Frogfoot can hold much more of them.
Yeah, I can see that being an advantage. I'll tell you what, though, if you've ever heard the A-10 fire its main Gatling gun, you would swear it's the end of the Earth.
Oh, I heard it.
It sounds like the universe is literally being unzipped.
No. I've been on the field when I've seen A10s doing strafing runs. It's you cannot miss that farting sound of the Gatling gun. It's pretty impressive. But take a look at the link that I sent for the aircraft. That I think the Su-25 is pretty freaking kick-ass. You know,
it's probably newer.
Oh no, not really. It's
older. It is older, but it's gone through redesigns and stuff, of course. But it's an impressive piece of kit. It's always been something that's myself as an armored crewman that we've always been like absolutely terrified of.
Yeah, I know the DoD has been looking for a replacement for the A-10, and I'm not aware of them coming up with anything as good as the A-10 on our side of the pond.
Well, I think they made, what is it, Lightning 2?
Maybe. I mean,
but that's maybe modernization.
Yeah, the A-10 was purpose-designed to kill tanks, and it is also very acrobatic, and I tell you what, if I would not bet against the A-10 if an A-10 went up against an F-16 in a dogfight, because if they got within gun range somehow, the A-10 will, because it doesn't have the supersonic capability or anything, and it has much larger wings and lower wing loading, it'll turn inside the F-16, and once it's got its gun on sights, one burp and the F-16 is shrapnel.
You're talking about totally two different roles. The F-16 would be able to fire on it even before the A-10 could even know it was there.
Yeah, the F-16 usually would, yes, I agree with you. But if the F-16 pilot was somehow clumsy and stumbled in, well, you know how like Top Gun and Red Flag, they do, not Red Flag, is it Red Flag? Top Gun and the Air Force equivalent, they do mixed aircraft air combat. So, it's a question of pitting the strengths of one against the weaknesses of the other.
Yeah.
There was one particular aerial encounter that was rather interesting. 2 F-15s versus 3 A-4s. And even though it was 2 for 2, there was still 1 A-4 left.
Yeah. You got to remember, like the Frogfoot and the A-10, they're very intimate support. They're like right on the front line. They're like swooping right in. When you're talking about like F-16s or Hornets or any other those type of jets, you don't even know they're even there. They're like lobbing in rounds, and and by the time you even know they're there, you're already dead, right? So.
Yeah, I noticed that the F-18 is capable of delivering laser-guided bombs where the person who's operating the laser launcher is not in the F-18, he's on the ground somewhere. So it's like they coordinate, F-18 drops the bomb and then peels away and is gone while the bomb makes its way to the target.
Yeah. Laser-guided munitions could be launched from, be designated by drones, by infantry, by, there's a variety of different ways to designate a target, right? So.
Yeah, and since it's an infrared laser, it's invisible to the human eye.
No, it's just. Yeah, it's not visible. I wouldn't say it's infrared, but yeah, okay.
Well, I thought it was infrared, but it would be visible, I believe, to night vision or thermal imaging equipment, maybe, if it covers that particular range. I know night vision sees infrared illuminators quite easily because obviously, Starlight scopes and such, they use infrared illuminators as well. But turning on an infrared illuminator at night is a really bad way to blow your cover.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we use there's aggressive and passive night vision, right? So mostly we use passive night vision, right?
Right.
And so passive night vision, um, if you have any sort of ambient light, it just basically amplifies it, right?
Right.
But if you're like in a building, I can turn on an IR light, right? And then it'll illuminate the room. And but the problem is, as soon as you turn on that IR light, that also makes you susceptible to the enemy seeing you coming as well, right?
All their passive night vision is going to see that thing light up like a flare.
Oh, exactly, right? Like if you look on the front of a T-90 tank, they have IR lights on it, right? If they have those lights lit up, you're going to see those guys coming, right? So
yeah, I've actually got a Russian-made monocular, 3x power, and it does have an IR illuminator, which is very, I mean, if you're looking at the IR illuminator with your eyes when it's turned on, it's like an incredibly dim light. But when you look through the monocular at what you're seeing, it lights up the whole area for like 300 yards.
yeah. Well, you got to remember, it's beyond our visual spectrum. That's why.
That's precisely the point I'm making. The IR illuminators for the laser designators operate, if I remember correctly, at around 740 nanometers.
Oh, okay. So you know all that type of stuff, all right?
Well, it's an infrared laser that's below the vision that humans will see. So the only way to see it would be with a night vision system.
Yeah. So what we use
in daylight, you can't use that.
So if I was dismounted, we use lasers on our rifles, right? And mostly you don't use it for like aiming at somebody and shooting like you see in Call of Duty or whatever, right? The whole idea is that we use lasers to designate targets. So if I was like preparing an attack, I'd go, okay, Alpha Fire Team, this is your arcs, and I'll shine my laser that way. And then I shine my laser to designate everybody's targets. And then we proceed with our attack, right? Because they're going to see it through their monocle, right? Because we wear monocles nowadays, right? So you have a monocle on one eye and nothing on the other eye, right? So the idea is that you can keep both eyes open, one eye in your sight and the other one on your monocle, and away you go, right? So,
well, yeah, when shooting light rifles, well, like I have an AR-15 that was made as a bench rifle, and I bought a Burris laser range-finding scope. It's not usable as a designator, obviously. The laser rangefinder, you press the button, it shoots the laser out and comes up with a range in meters or yards, depending on how you've got.
That's a totally different function, though, right?
Yeah, that's a totally different function, but it allows you to very quickly know which bullet drop compensator to use for elevation, so that you don't have to go twisting turrets or anything like that on the scope. And it's a hunting scope, it's not a military scope, so it's got other limitations, obviously. But it's pretty cool. But yeah,
Art, just to ride back, just to backtrack a bit, Art, you got to use that helicopter thing a lot more for like technology, because that's a significant U.S. Thing that they really enjoy, right? So that's always a good one to like stab into their side.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, we were building helicopters before Sikorsky came along. In fact, even Leonardo da Vinci designed one.
Yeah, but
unfortunately, he lived in a time period where there was no way to power such a beast.
Well, it wouldn't really work much, you know.
It wouldn't have worked very well. It used an Archimedes screw type deal.
It wasn't really efficient.
But We did not get any good helicopters until Sikorsky came here, and his designs absolutely blew away everything that we had been trying.
Oh, I love rotary wing. I know all about it. I've studied a lot. I fly RC helicopters, and it's a crazy design until I started building heads on helicopters and stuff like that. I didn't understand it. Now I totally get it, right? But
you mean how it works, how the maneuvering things work?
Yeah, how the blades actually twist and turn and to make forward flight happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I used to actually love doing RC. I actually bought myself a more or less true RCS helicopter with actual rotor that bends the blades, even though it was a double rotor. It kind of like the come-off configuration, but you still did have the bending of the rotors. And yeah, I love to understand how it works finally. It's really cool.
There's actually two types of design. There's the kind like you're just talking about, where the cyclic control will, and also the collective will.
Do you see my video?
Yeah.
And there's a swinging arm for stabilization. Like, for example, a classic example would be the Huey helicopter.
Right.
But there's also a type called a rigid rotor, where it operates on a slightly different principle. Although it's not nearly as common, but it is used on large helicopters.
I think Bohico was actually showing the RC model, and it was actually using the pedals, right? Stabilization rods, I think.
Yeah, I have. Here, I'll pull it down and put some light on it.
Yeah, the stabilization deal with the cyclic and collective and the stabilization bar is by far the most common, and I think it's exclusive on RC aircraft. I'm not so sure about autogyros. Autogyros, obviously, they use the auto-rotation principle to generate lift and use forward thrust from a propeller on the back, typically.
I think autogyros don't even use it for maneuvering. They just use it as a sort of a wing, don't they?
It's effectively a wing. But the good ones have a power takeoff so that you don't have to have a long run. In fact, some of them can take off almost vertically. And, of course, they can land vertically. But they're actually safer than a standard ultralight because you are going much, much, much slower when you're landing.
Oh, sorry. So the way they kind of work is that the principle is that they think they're always falling. So it's kind of like they're not really actually, or are they powered or not? I don't know how it works, but I do understand that it just kind of free flows around and it's just...
yeah, the blade free rotates.
Yeah.
For takeoff purposes, they use a power takeoff in the more expensive ones, because it just basically gets the rotor spinning sooner than if you hand swing it and then run down a runway to get it spun up to lifting speed.
Yeah.
But a regular helicopter, if the engine dies, the first thing you do is you disconnect the engine from the main rotor and ease back on the cyclic.
I used to practice with my helicopter here, auto rotation. Auto rotation landings. So I'd kill the engine, and I'd let it fall, let the rotor spin up, and then just before I was gonna land, I frickin' hit the cyclic up, and just enough to create enough lift, so this way it pillows the landing, right? So
yeah, That's the standard procedure.
Yeah.
Actually, when you lose an engine.
Yeah, let it speed up and then frickin' hit the just before you want to land. Just frickin' it's rough as hell, but it can be utterly graceful if you do it at the right time, right? So
yeah, if you once you've got the skill, basically what you want to do is you let the nose point downward a bit, and you keep your forward speed up. That'll mean, and you have the cyclic pulled back, so that gives you the auto rotation. Your forward motion and descent keeps the blades in auto rotation mode. And as you reach the ground, you pull the nose up and pull the cyclic up. Using the right timing, you can make a nice gentle landing.
you know what the worst part about the whole thing is? It's all about feeling, right? You got to feel it in all your controls, right?
Yeah,
And
RC, it doesn't give you that.
Yeah, and the thing is that if you can't feel the resistance and everything like that, then you can easily like crash and die, right? So, and timing is everything.
Well, you know, RC aircraft are in general much more difficult to fly than the real deal.
And real aircraft, yeah, I know. I've actually done real aircraft training, and RC's like I find this a lot harder, and I find it a lot more stressful.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. I have a plane, I have a Cessna RC, and I still cannot fucking get it off the ground. But it's because I don't have like a proper landing, surface. So just cannot do it. But yeah, it's the whole issue with perspective change, right? Because the controls, if the helicopter is facing you, the controls are reversed. If it's facing away from you,
the control is always relevant to the nose of the aircraft, right?
Right. And as a pilot, or as me as a driver, I'm used to have my own perspective, right? So I kind of connect it to my own perspective, to my own orientation.
Oh, geez, you need to get yourself an aircraft simulator, and then you'll train yourself, and then you're good to go. So
yeah, I do have. I love Illustrumavik. I love to play, on this servers, Russian servers. But the thing is, I always use the first-person view as well.
Oh yeah, no. If you really want to train how to fly an RC, get away from the first-person view.
Oh, you're talking about the RC simulators.
Yeah. There are some RCs that have a switch you can flip to reverse the sense of left and right. So when the thing is coming towards you, you can flip the switch and still, I want it to go to my left, and you maneuver it. You almost the joystick the same way you would if it was flying away from you.
Right, almost every kind of good
and
RC
the quads are all set up that way.
Right, almost every good RC controller, like the receiver, or what is it, the transmitter, well, basically the thing that you're using to control it, has on it switches that you can flip. I actually had my own as well on the Cessna, but it's kind of a bitch for me because, then you have to know when to switch it, you have to know, what position it is, so I just kind of, fuck this. But I should definitely try it out in the future because I kind of love this.
Yeah, the cool thing about the quads is they do it automatically. That is, because the quads are so fundamentally different in the way they fly. Essentially, the computer controls their stability and direction and all that stuff. All you're doing is telling it which way you want it to point, which way you want it to go, and that sort of thing, and it's flying itself.
Right, it's mostly flown by wire.
Well, RC by definition is a form of fly-by-wire, but what it's doing is instead of your control inputs actually directly manipulating the servos, well, the quads don't have servos actually. They use fixed-pitch nylon propellers that are cheap to replace. They steer and whatnot by having 4 independent drives, for one for each of the propellers. So they spin one faster than the other.
Well, fly-by-wire.
Do the rotations and all the other stuff that they can do.
Well, fly-by-wire means that you are how you describe it. It's basically you just tell the computer where you want to go, and it calculates all the necessary, pitch and torque and whatever. On
Right.
RCs, it's generally manual. You're literally controlling all of these sort of controllable things manually. That's why I said it's fly-by-wire.
Yeah, I'm used to fly-by-wire being applied to full-size aircraft where your input goes to a computer and the computer uses forced feedback to give you the illusion that you're still operating hydraulic controls and such.
Well, yeah, you
it's
get
flying
certain
the plane.
feelings, but you also got to remember with the G forces that you get nowadays, type of jets like fighter jets or whatever, that you would never be able to compete. So that's why they moved to fly-by-wire, right?
Oh, they
And
did
by the
that.
way, I put in a link to a video to my drone if you want to check it out on the chat there. So.
I'm watching it right now. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, the F-18s from the very beginning, which I think were the United States' first fly-by-wire fighter craft, but now all of them are. They have, for G-loading purposes, because of the limitations of the pilot, they limit themselves to a 9G pull. Because that, a good pilot who knows his G training in combination with the G suit is capable of handling 9 Gs for I think up to about 30 seconds or so. I think that's how long the test is. Or is it a minute? I don't remember exactly the test.
I recall, yeah. But the G suit's a cheater thing because it squishes your blood back up into your body and.
Yeah, it squeezes your thighs very hard.
Yeah.
And also your belly, your stomach. And basically what you do before G-suits and even with G-suits at the higher G levels, effectively what you're trying to do is do all the muscle squeezing that you do when you're constipated and trying to push out a big shit.
Yeah.
Hopefully without actually shitting in your pants. But the idea is to squeeze the blood flow up to your brain so that you don't tunnel out.
Right. Oh, but
I love your new icon.
Oh, thank you. That was Flip's idea, and he modified the icon. So, yeah, I thought it was hilarious, so I just decided to use it. And it's more accurate. It reflects what I actually am more accurately.
Hey, if you ever want to do a hangout and drink vodka, I'm more than willing.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. Yeah, we should do it sometime. Probably over the weekend. Are you free on the weekend?
Mostly, yeah.
Like this time, next weekend?
Oh, yeah. Typically,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give you an invite.
Yeah. One last thing on the fly-by-wire. I just wanted to get this out. Back in 1978, when it was still the YF-17 and not the F-18, a reporter got taken up in a chase plane to watch. There were two YF-17s flying in, I guess, a half Vic formation or 2/3, whatever you call it. And he was like, stunned by how he was a former Air Force pilot himself. So he was familiar with what it's like to fly supersonic speed through turbulent air or subsonic, He was used to bumpy rides. And he was amazed at how smooth the F-18 was. And he looked at the other one and he could see the flight control surfaces fluttering as the computer inputs were just like so much times faster than what a human could possibly do. It just kept the airplane absolutely smooth and steady. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. So,
it's a cool feature.
On it further.
If anybody's interested, you can just play Kerbal Space Program, and it has the same kind of functionality. It will flatter all of these surfaces and the vectoring of the rockets, and make your rocket completely stable. But yeah. Well, speaking of smooth rides, I've seen a documentary in Discovery about the.
Astroglide.
I don't know, MI-24 Hind. And there was this, what is it, Texas test pilot,
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
and he complimented the MI-24 Hind. He compared it to a Cadillac.
Yeah, it's a formidable machine, right?
Oh, yeah. And it can carry fucking troops.
And yeah, you can carry troops in the battle. Well, that's what it was designed for, right? It's air cavalry type of vehicle, right? It's perfect, right?
Right, it's an air infantry fighting vehicle, essentially.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's the Russians have some very unique ways of launching troops in the battle, right? So.
Oh, hell yeah.
One of my favorite vehicles and I want to learn a little bit more is the Israeli Merkava.
Oh, which one? Wait, what is it?
It's a main battle tank and an infantry fighting vehicle in one, right? It
Yeah, I heard
actually
about
holds
that, yeah.
troops in it.
I heard it pronounced as Merkava, but yeah, it's got the engine in the front instead of the back.
Yeah, and what it does is it also holds a section of infantry, and they have this little flip down door in the back of the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. They have awesome designs, you know. They also have a integrated, I think, what is it, mortar?
Yeah. It's also got shrapnel.
Well, they also have this system too that is anti-infantry, right? Which is around the vehicle, and it's like, think of it as like a series of claymores, and what they do is they're totally designed around doing asymmetrical warfare, right?
Yeah. The Merkava is also designed to give the crew maximum protection.
Yeah.
Right.
In a hit.
Well, yeah, they specifically designed the vehicles for their own environment, which is, you know,
Yeah.
close quarters combat.
Yeah.
Right.
And
also,
urban environments and.
Yeah. It's also easier to build a Merkava than to train people to operate it and all that stuff. So the Merkava is considered expendable, whereas the crew is not.
Right. Yeah, I really like the Merkavas. Aren't they making a new tank? Did you guys hear about it?
No, I haven't heard if they're updating or anything.
Oh, there was also a thing with the Bradley fighting vehicle. The Israelis ordered Bradleys from the United States, but they added their own specifications that they wanted. For example, no aluminum skin, they wanted steel, armor plate steel. So they were willing to add weight for protection purposes.
Oh
Yeah,
shit! Now that you mention that, you guys were talking about different types of armor, and I so wanted to jump in the hangout, but you guys were like overwhelmed with people. One of the lightest tanks out there was the Sheridan tank, which is airdroppable American tank that was actually able to fire missiles out of its short barrel.
Oh, cool. Oh, so
and it was made out of aluminum, right?
Yeah, buttery soft aluminum. Even if it is 7000 series, it's still buttery soft compared to armor steel.
Right. Well, I can understand the Israelis, switching from aluminum to steel. They don't need a light tank. Again, they're doing land war. They don't need.
Yeah, they're not going over swampy territory or any of that shit. They don't need it to be light. They just need it to move quickly and protect their troops.
Yeah.
You don't.
Which is probably one of the reasons they developed the active protection systems.
Yeah. Well, reactive armor, I don't think would work too well on aluminum.
Well, the thing is, one of the things that most people forget is all you have to do is like strap like Chobham armor on or whatever, and you can actually make a tank a lot tougher, right? So, like a lot of armored vehicles that we see on Wikipedia and stuff like that, And the Russians are famous for this because they were the first ones to really start doing this, where they had reactive armor. So if you had a HE round flying at an armored vehicle, it hits one of these reactive armor pieces, it blows up. So basically they strap explosives on the side of their vehicle, which counteracts the explosion of the round that's coming in.
Yeah, it sends
Right.
out, essentially it's a cancellation wave.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I was actually reading a lot about this, and I'm kind of surprised that, at least as far as it looks like, the Russians developed a lot of technology, especially armor. I think they were the first one to use the cage, you know, against the
RPGs.
right. In what is it, in Berlin, they used to put them on T-34s
Yeah.
against the German Panzer.
They're fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very embarrassing when you can have an infantry soldier carrying a shoulder-fired weapon that can take down a tank. Hence the invention of reactive armor.
Well, it's not embarrassing. It's ingenuity, right?
Yeah.
It's bound to happen, right? You know, there's got to be a way to counteract.
Right.
But the thing is, you got to remember, you got to carry that stuff.
Right,
You know.
it's heavy as fuck.
Yeah. Oh, another cool thing. When the Israelis ordered F-15s from the United States, they had them fitted with rear-view mirrors.
Oh, no. It's fairly common that...
The American F-15s didn't have rear-view mirrors.
Well, a lot of fighters did. I know World War II fighters.
World War II fighters did. But
Right.
you got to realize the Americans were of the mind that everything was down to missiles now, so you just looked
Right.
at your radar.
But you got to remember,
Fired
F-15s weren't really
target.
designed for that type of combat, right? So...
Yeah, they're more like missile-carrying platforms, really. You know, it's fire as far as away as possible, and you know, hit the target. But, interesting fact about the
standoff
reactive.
firepower.
Right. Interesting fact about the reactive armor. When it was first developed, USSR considered an alternative to it, which is essentially what the active protection systems today are, which is basically a electronics sort of system that would detect the incoming shell and explode the panels on the tank itself against the incoming shell, which is now developed into active protection systems, essentially.
Which is also meant to counteract sabot rounds, because sabot rounds are a lot different, right, than your high explosive rounds or your heat rounds, right?
Right.
Because those are all based on a penetration, right?
Right. There's actually a lot of
Yeah,
There's a
those
lot of
big
research being
deflated
done in
uranium
active-
bullets are fucking impossible to stop, practically. You
I
have
know
to
there's a lot of-
deflect them somehow remotely, otherwise they're just going to pass through armor plate like melted butter.
I know there is a lot of research being done into active protection systems. I think even the newer Russian T-14, T-15 platforms are going to be mainly relying on the active protection. I think they've developed a new one besides Arena, which is one of the first active protection systems. I know Merklova tanks have them now. It's the Trophy. Yeah, I think it's the Trophy active protection systems. I think they're cool. If you guys watched any videos of Trophy in action or the Russian Arena, it's just fucking awesome.
Yeah. And you gotta remember, nowadays, everything is like lased, right? Everybody uses laser rangefinders. Even our turrets on our vehicles, they'll automatically turn to the direction that the laser was shot at, and all you have to do is basically start firing. It doesn't fire on its own, but the turret will actually automatically engage, will turn over towards the direction of the laser, so this way the gunner can see it, right? So.
Oh, that's cool. I don't know if we do. I didn't know there's an automatic feature like that.
Yeah, it's a very, very simple system. It's it looks like a hexagonal type of pod up above the turret, and it has a bunch of little windows in it. And when it detects a laser, it automatically, like if the setting's on, it'll automatically turn towards that, and away you go, right? the gunner will engage, right? So.
Well, yeah, I know the modernized T90 tank has a feature of automatically launching smoke screen in the direction where the laser is coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same idea, right?
Yeah.
I think it's silver iodide is quite effective at blocking infrared.
Well, yeah, the whole idea is you
and
can.
Thermal imaging.
That's the thing, right? It's all about thermal imagery, right? So nowadays they have like basically burning metal shards that are included in the smoke to break up the thermal imagery, right? So smoke used to be great up until 20 years ago, right? But when people started using thermal,
Yeah,
then
I heard that Abrams, they only use the thermal sights now. They don't even bother with the optical ones.
no, nobody uses optical or radness, right? Everybody uses thermal nowadays.
Yeah, because it
Right.
works in daytime as well as night.
Exactly, right? And I've been out training with the infantry, and we were using a thermal imagery sight, and they thought it was only a night vision sight, so they thought they couldn't patrol against us during the night, so they were trying to patrol against us during the day. But we were in thermal imagery, and we were totally able to track them everywhere they went, right?
Yeah, and this standard old-fashioned smoke flares would do nothing. You just see a little heat spot on the ground, maybe a little shimmer of mist, but the tank and everything that you were looking at through the thermal sights was absolutely visible in the crosshairs and
Yeah.
could be rain.
Plain as no any other time, right? So
The smoke does nothing anymore.
no.
Except
And-
for the newer smoke stuff that throws off the thermal.
yeah. That's a nice thing about white phosphorus too, because it throws off a lot of heat, right? So
I'm waiting though. I'm thinking, with the laser range finding systems and everything, and since civilian police are now using laser to measure the speed of speeding vehicles, and even in a crowd of cars, you're aiming at a very specific vehicle so that you get the lights. And companies have already created countermeasures for laser rangefinders for police against police LiDAR. I'm wondering if the military has an equivalent for working against laser rangefinders. It's like, okay, we're being laser rangefined. Let's adjust their reading to 100 meters shy or 100 meters high so that they miss completely. And when they fire, they give we also see them, of course. So
yeah, if it's like if it's a sable round coming in, you want it a lot more than that because they have a pretty flat trajectory. So the thing is, but you're on the right track. It'd be
I'm speaking in principle only because I'm sure that there may well be classified devices that already do that kind of thing, and obviously I would not know a damn thing about them.
Are you talking about diverting saber rounds? Or?
No, to give a false reading to laser rangefinders.
Because I know there's actually a technology, I think it's by the American Hard Kill system, which is an active protective system that can bend or sort of change the sabot round that is incoming to the vehicle. It would make it flip so that it will hit on the side and not, on its tip. It will not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's actually videos of that on YouTube in slow-mo.
Well, when those Gauss guns are shrunk down to the size where they can be practically used on a mobile vehicle, a whole new system is going to be required.
Well, it's not about shrinking, it's about battery, really, in the case of mobile devices. You need a lot of power.
Well, yeah, they use a ridiculous amount of power right now that is not capable of being generated by even a tank's, jet engines. But the point is the actual projectile is flying at such ridiculously high velocity, above and beyond what can be done with a powder charge, that it won't really matter if it hits sideways or head-on. It's
Are
still
you
going to
talking about a railgun?
Yeah, a railgun.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. The problem is, yeah, a tank doesn't hold enough. Right now, it's not feasible because of the amount of energy it takes to launch that projectile, right? So,
Right. Yes, the tests I've seen, basically, they're conducted by a standing fixed platform inside a big building that has to charge up the capacitors and has humongous solenoid switches that can handle the tremendous amount of current required to do the fire. But when that sucker fires, it's very impressive.
the only mobile platform that I'm aware of that can fire a railgun right now is ships, right?
Yeah, and they probably don't have a high rate of fire at that.
No, it takes a while to recharge the weapon. But the limited range on a weapon system like that is curvature of the Earth, right? So,
Yeah, so I think missiles are going to still be a thing.
It's possible that, yeah, it's a question of whether the railgun will win or whether the laser will win, because recently it's gotten out that an American frigate basically wired together 3 different industrial welding lasers and was able to sink a small ship in a test shot, but the current operational range is only about 2 kilometers max.
Yeah, which is not really practical.
Laser.
yeah, that's nothing when it comes to ships, though, right?
Yeah, we have
Especially
missiles.
nowadays.
Yeah, but
there are missiles that can
75
shoot.
cents worth
So-
of. It would cost only 75 cents to fire that laser pulse.
Yeah, but we're gonna destroy the ship even before we were able to shoot it, so you just lost all of it.
Right, but imagine though that the lasers had full line of sight range.
Yeah, but still, it's limited by line of sight, and most ships are using missiles right now. Just so it's if I know that your ship is capable of such destructive power at kilometer 2 kilometers, or let's say the curvature of the Earth, right? So visual range, I'm just gonna stay off it and launch fucking missiles at you.
Yeah, well, that laser technology can be used to shoot down the missiles. You got to realize
Up to a point. Up to a point.
Required.
Up to a
The
point.
current systems use phalanx guns to just throw up a wall of depleted uranium to hopefully hit the missile.
Right, and then it depends on how fast and how many of them you've got, right? Because it's possible to overwhelm the defense systems with enough missiles.
Yeah, if you fire a shitload of missiles, that'll do it. A cheaper way is to fire several missiles and also have a whole bunch of trackers going up that emulate missiles. So
Hey, I
that
wanna.
the counter system thinks there's like a wall of missiles coming at it.
Sorry to interrupt, but I was just looking at Pom Jam's window there. He's playing Barbies with some big overweight guy putting a bra on them and some like face paint.
Is that some kind of wrestling game? It's kind of
Well,
looks like
I don't know, they're wearing bras.
I also hate to interrupt, but Stand Up typed something in the group chat that I would strongly discourage if he's being serious. Because
maybe he's just testing us. If you're paying attention.
yeah, I mean,
I hope so.
it's one of the I'm a bit sensitive about the gun issue because I believe in the RKBA and suicides and spree shootings always cause, calls to further gun restrictions. And believe me, there are sufficiently high restrictions already.
So you're basically
beyond
telling him not to be a
outright
selfish
banning.
bastard. So you're telling him he's being a bastard and a cunt by killing himself.
Essentially, yes, if he uses a gun.
Okay.
And Deirdre's bored of us, and she's drawing boobies on a stick figure.
I'm glad I'm audio only.
You saw boobs on that thing? I drew a triangle. What's wrong with you?
Somebody needs to get laid.
You're doing porn.
Right? I drew a little triangle. Like it was like a little triangle dress or something. Well, that's
I don't
fine.
know, I saw boobs all over the place there.
Hmm.
It was octobooby.
The things you see.
Boobies!
You don't want to participate in a conversation on Russian and American equipment.
I was about ready to say something about gun suicide. You ready? I'm
Yeah.
from California. Incoming. Actually, I'm pretty gun friendly. That being said, I do think that
Murderer.
I do think that sometimes some people might not be able to use guns, whether they are emotionally inappropriate with their guns or incompetent, or
Right to
if
bear
you,
arms. Second Amendment.
or if you, I mean, this is sort of just their self-judgment kind of thing. I'll put it there. I'm not really a legislation person. If someone's going to kill themselves, they're going to kill themselves. But that being said, like if you feel like you're depressed, there's certain things you want to maybe try to steer away from, and guns are one thing. Alcohol's another. If you struggle with depression and you're drinking all the time, well, guess what? Alcohol's a depressant.
Yeah.
You're gonna make yourself worse. And I'm not trying to judge anybody, but like when I'm going through a stage of depression, I just try to steer clear of alcohol. Now sometimes I drink, but if I know that I'm going through a valley, I will not.
Yeah.
That being
Have
said,
you ever been drunk?
Guns
Yes.
and alcohol do not mix.
Yeah, guns and alcohol do not mix at all. Again, irresponsible. It's sort of like guns and cars don't mix. If you are
No,
someone that
alcohol
drinks,
and cars do not mix.
yeah. But like you drink a lot, but one thing I do appreciate about what you do is you decide you are not going to even make it an option for you to drive, and I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. There's no fucking way I would drive intoxicated.
I'm really glad that you don't do that, because people do that, and then people pay that aren't even involved in the situation.
Yeah. Now, if you don't mind a little bit of a joke, a proof that guns and alcohols don't mix, fill a big jar up with Everclear and drop a pistol in it. The pistol will not dissolve.
Oh gosh.
Deidre.
I'm sorry.
Bohica. What?
But
So you say you actually drink booze?
Yeah, I drink. I just make sure that I drink when I'm not like in a valley of depression, and I don't usually drink to get sloshed. I might drink to the point where I get a nice buzz.
What
but
about
I won't get
socially with us? Would you come with me and Art and like get sloshed or what?
When I drink, I am pretty still in control. I won't get to the point where I'm too crazy. Though I will say that I had a few drinks in me, and I was talking to B and Gus in a private chat, a private hangout, and I think the worst that they saw me is I tried to say pre-sup. I can't even say it now.
yeah,
Now that I know the word.
presuppositionalism.
I tried to say that, and I said presuppositionalicious or something ridiculous. Presuppositionalicious, and Gus now forever will say that.
Well, you know that bottle of vodka that I purchased on Thursday. I still cannot pronounce the fucking name of that brand. I don't care how sober I am. I mean, pure sober, and I still can't pronounce the goddamn name of that thing. It's a Polish potato vodka triple distill.
Oh gosh, once I try to say something and I've said it wrong, it's hard to fix it ever again. Does it start with an S? S-T-A something? Starsky? Star something? The Polish vodka you're talking about?
I'll type the name into the group chat for you because it begins with an L.
Oh, my brother brought home some Polish vodka.
I can assure you, I can still not pronounce it.
Because he lives over in the UK and he travels a lot, within the, European countries. And he brought home Polish vodka, and I'll have to link the name too.
Yeah,
It
I'm
was
doing a spelling
really
check.
good. I don't usually, vodka, I'm going to sound really girly here. I don't usually drink vodka straight. I can, but I don't enjoy vodka straight. And this, I could totally drink straight. No big deal.
Oh, this
Are
is
you
beautiful
guys?
straight. This is
Are you
actually, I
guys?
think I like it better than the Grey Goose, which has until now been my favorite. And my other two
Kettle
ones
One's
that
not
I would
bad.
drink straight were Stolichnaya and Finlandia. Absolute, on the other hand, is absolutely disappointing.
Absolute's good
Belvedere,
when it's
disappointing.
blended,
Yeah.
not straight.
I don't like flavored vodkas either. I mean, if I
No.
want to flavor my vodka, I'll mix it with something myself. Thank you very much.
Here, let me find the Polish one that I was looking at. But yeah, maybe Polish vodka is just really good.
Yeah,
Are
I
you guys
specifically asked for
insomniacs or
Polish.
something?
Oh,
Am I an
sorry.
insomniac? Yeah, I'm an insomniac.
I specifically asked for a Polish potato vodka because I had only had wheat vodkas.
Do you
Can
get
you?
sleep during the day? You must sleep at some point.
I took a really long nap today, and I also have to leave really soon, actually. Now that I'm looking at my clock, I have to get ready and leave. I have jury duty, which is just gross. I'm not very happy about that.
Oh, I don't suppose you're on medication for panic disorder,
Me?
are you?
No, not right now. I have been in the past, but right now, actually, I'm not on anything right now. And it has been kind of rough because I do have, I've had some pretty rough days, and but it's been better within the last month and a half. But
What did they
I
give
would
you
say
for
6 months ago I was a mess. 6 months ago I had kind of a, not a breakdown, but I had sort of a, I had a really hard time.
What did they give you for panic disorder?
Um,
Well,
Previously I had been on a long time ago. My first time they put me on Prozac. It was about 6 years ago. Put me on Prozac and Xanax both,
well,
and then
Xanax is good.
and then
Prozac,
later they tried Wellbutrin. I was on Wellbutrin for a little while, and,
ugh. That made
and
my cheeks feel swollen when I tried that.
I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna sound really awful. I enjoy having sex with my husband, and I don't enjoy having my sex drive being killed for it. And so I'm like, dude, I just, if there's any other way, do you have anything else that I can try that isn't just completely putting me in shutdown mode, for that? And
Yeah,
and they're
avoid
like,
SSRIs.
yeah, the psychologist that I talked to made it sound like it was no big deal. Or sorry, psychiatrist. The psychiatrist I talked to was like, well, do you want to have sex or do you want to kill yourself? And I was like, um, this is not
Is
a
there
good
a third
choice.
option?
Is there a third option? I mean, I've been all right, but I would say that I have plunged really low and then eventually I climb out. But I'm one of those people that I don't, during depression, when it's at its worst, it usually doesn't stay for months and months. It might stay for a month or two at a really, really low point, and then eventually the sun comes out again, and I kind of go to a more mildly or very
Yeah.
controlled. So I'm considered a moderate depressive, and my biggest demon is probably general anxiety, and that kicks in at the weirdest times. Like I can't even. I mean, I guess now I'm like laying out all my psychological problems on the internet, which is just lovely. But for the sake of vulnerability and saying, I think more people should be able to talk about it. Anxiety shows its head at really strange places. Like for me in school, during a college test, a panic attack, even
Yeah.
though I would pass the test just because there was a test at the wrong time. Um, Usually it's achievement oriented things that kind of will trigger it. Or for me, the weirdest thing is uh, the freeway triggers panic disorder for me. And so I haven't been driving on the freeway for and I live in a place where it's really hard not to drive on the freeway because San Diego's so spread out.
That's a form
So
of agoraphobia that panic
yeah,
and anxiety disorders often lead to if left untreated too long.
yeah. So it's sort of settled into some weird places like driving. I can drive on the streets just fine, but when it's nighttime or if it's raining or our psychotic drivers on the freeway because we're California, um, it
Yes.
suddenly it turns into like basically a panic attack, and you just can't drive through it. You can't drive through a panic disorder. Like
Oh,
you
no, you
just
can't.
you'll crash. Like I
You
mean,
have
you
to
know.
pull over and just shut down the engine.
I mean, I
Oh,
literally
jeez.
would get to the point where I'd be like, I can pull over at any time. I'm not trapped on the freeway. I can pull over at any time. I can get off this exit if I needed to. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. And I'm trying to talk myself out of flipping out. And like the stress level and the migraines I'd get from coming home and trying to convince myself. So right now I've been working from home, which is okay, but I'm lonely because I like people. So like that's the trade-off.
Yeah.
And like I have to go downtown, which is a bit of a drive, and I'd have to take the freeway. So then I decided I'd just go take the trolley, and I'm trying to avoid inducing those attacks. So really, I really should probably see a counselor again, but I don't have the insurance right now, and
Uh,
it's
I
Yeah,
only
that kind of
have
sucks.
because, and it's kind of too late for it anyway, is because typically you can get a statutory exemption with a note from your doctor basically saying that you are not fit for jury duty for, particular reasons, and they'll simply excuse you. But that's between when you receive the letter and send in your questionnaire, if it's anything like Pennsylvania.
yeah. And I just now got my insurance back, so I
Yeah.
mean, and this is essentially Obamacare because like you're a little bit poor right now, but
Well, yeah, I
I don't
understand.
think
Well, I'm not on
yeah.
insurance either, so I'm
Yeah.
paying out of my
I
pocket.
had,
Well, mental it needs to be covered, and it usually isn't for most places. When I had Kaiser, it was covered, which was fantastic. That's probably when I had my most. When that's when I saw a counselor the most is when I had Kaiser.
Yeah. Okay. But I was just saying, and like I said, it is too late now. But if you were still taking medication, you would have a doctor obviously supervising that, and he could have, or she could have, written you an excusal note so that you wouldn't have to go through that hell of being in a room full of who knows how many people with very little breathing space waiting to
Yeah.
go through the different
That part doesn't freak me
picking
out. Like I'm
processes.
a people person, but the weird thing that triggers it. Okay, so like I'm not a complete, and I'm not a complete agoraphobe. I'm not completely afraid of large crowds, but let me think of strange things that trigger it for me. I do seem like an agoraphobe, like when we have mainly outdoor malls here because it's San Diego and it never rains. But there is a couple malls where they're indoors, one's by my house. And during Christmas time, where it's completely packed with people and you're in the enclosed space at the same time,
oh,
I
I
will
hate
start to
that.
feel that feeling in my chest, when anxiety starts to kick in and it's just like it's like tightening, and it usually won't turn into like a panic attack, but you just feel the anxiety starting to build up, and eventually I'll get so tired of fighting that I'll be like, I need to go home. Like I'll just like suddenly look like an introvert. I need to go home. I'm
Yeah,
done.
I'm actually over that. I mean, that was a problem for me, but the fact that I can just simply get up and get out, knowing that is a major thing that says, basically it's no problem. If something starts coming up, I can just drop everything, leave, and no problem. But with jury duty, that's not the case. You are trapped in the court until they excuse you.
Well, thanks for freaking me out, Fudd. Like, you're trapped, you're trapped,
That
you're
was
trapped.
not my intention.
I'm pretty sure that if I was starting to have some sort of issue, like if I started hyperventilating or something, I could probably go talk to somebody. And I bet you it wouldn't be the first time they've seen something like that.
Probably not. And if you have a spare, if you still have any leftover Xanax,
No, I'm all out.
you're all out? Oh, okay. I was just going to say, take it with you.
Yeah, it's been years since I've been on that. A few years now, but yeah.
I had a minor anxiety attack today. I went to a birthday party for a 7-year-old. 5-year-old was there, and just my girlfriend's sister-in-law and brother, and I was like almost waking out.
Wow. Did you wish you were in Fallujah instead?
Pretty much, yeah. It's horrible trying to explain this to my girlfriend. I'm like,
Gosh, I've had panic attacks that have quite literally knocked me off my feet, had me lying, sweats with heart rate racing and feeling like I was going to die, and basically wishing, it's like, all right, just die already or get over it, please, something, one of the ways, it's like.
Well, the weird thing that I don't understand is these are people I know when I was doing this, right? It's like, I don't know. Tomorrow I go and see my social worker, so see what they say.
I have had I've never had a psychiatrist long term. A psychiatrist is usually, like, I've been referred to one to get medication, but I always have had, like, a psychologist. And then one time during Kaiser, I got sent to a social worker. And the social worker was such a weirdo. And I mean, like, this was probably one of my weirdest counseling sessions, where she was just trying to convince me over and over and over again to join her New Age. It wasn't Buddhist or anything. It was like this New Agey meditation class. And, like, I'm not necessarily anti-meditation, but you got to understand that she had just been pushing, like, these quantum physics, alternate reality things onto me too. And I was like, what is going on? And I think somehow she just
out right then and there.
I think somehow she had decided that some of my anxiety was due to my religion. I think because it was because of a comment I made or something. I don't know. And I have baggage due to some religious experiences. I don't think that's the fault of God, but I would blame it on dogma and maybe some issues with churches and just people being jerks. But that being said, like I was like, dude, no, and eventually I just had to switch counselors, and then I got a regular psychologist again. But my one time of having a social worker, she was kind of a weirdo, California weirdo.
It's not even how it works for us here. The social worker is like your frontline person that kind of makes recommendations, goes, oh, you should go to a psychologist or a psychotherapist, and then from there you get all your treatment and stuff like that, right? And then for me, the social worker is just kind of the person that keeps tabs on you and to make sure that you get treatment, right? So
yeah, in my experience, because before going to a real doctor, people had suggested these different things. It's like, this is just, your weakness. It's something wrong with, it's not real. It's blah, 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 blah.
I've never heard anybody ever say that.
It's having an amputated arm. I mean, it's just that because it's invisible, people just think, decide it doesn't exist. And what fixed me was first going to a GP, and it's like, oh, yeah, this is classic anxiety disorder, and basically, here, he prescribed me Xanax, and said I should see a psychiatrist, because psychiatrists are real doctors too. They can issue prescriptions. And
Yeah, they
it,
made me, yeah,
it kind of took a
psychiatrist.
while to figure out exactly what works, and it did. It took several years of experimental. I mean, Wellbutrin was on the list, and Wellbutrin just did not work for me. And Depakote was another one, and there was a number of things that went through before finally coming up with Paxil and Xanax, which worked beautifully. And then I became functional. But the problem with the Paxil, of course, in addition to the sexual side effects, is if you forget to take it too many times in a row, the withdrawal is absolutely horrific. In fact, Smith Blind Beecham was subject to a class action lawsuit over that. But anyway, that's why I ultimately switched over to cetopralum. I'm not going to grab the bottle to pronounce it correctly, but at any
Close
rate,
enough. Close enough. See to
yeah.
something.
The reason for the switch was I wanted to see if a different SSRI would be as effective as the Paxil, and not have the horrific withdrawal symptoms. And it's not quite as good as the Paxil, but good enough. And the withdrawal symptoms, if you forget to take a dose or two in a row, are so much more subtle and pain-free. So I'm happy with what I've got right now because I'm functional, I'm able to go out, I'm able to do things, although I have other issues that do make me unsuitable for jury duty, like the ADHD and shit.
Yeah, I'm a little bit. It's funny because I have a friend who's into the sciences, and she
That makes you insane.
she's a gamer, and she keeps telling me that I have ADHD. I have ADHD. She just always wants to tell me that, and I'm like, no, I don't, because I'm not as hyper as some people. And I'm no, 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 no. And then she made me take a test, and I was like, maybe I do have ADHD after this test I took.
Everything that you look at will always make you think that you have it, right? So.
Well, I'm pretty sure the ADHD is real. It is very difficult to try and plow through it. I've got
Are you calling her ADHD?
Well, I've got all the symptoms.
No,
He's calling
her.
himself that.
Oh, I thought he
Calling
was
himself
accusing you.
Well, I don't know. I just thought I had anxiety disorder, but actually, I was talking to somebody else in Hangout, and she was talking about how with women particularly, sometimes ADHD shows up in anxiety, which is kind of interesting.
Hey, you want to ride bikes?
You want to ride bikes?
Yeah. Isn't that how it works?
Oh, yeah. Look, a bird.
Hey, look, bird. I'm just playing around.
Yeah, well, the issue
It's
for
fun
me
time at band
is,
camp.
yeah.
Do you know how to play the flute?
Okay. Now, the issue for me is I need to be able to concentrate on reading API documentation and such and coding. And what happens to me is I will end up just staring at the screen, not touching the keyboard, with my mind just flipping from subject to subject. I mean, it's like channels
that's like me at work.
in my brain.
It's like me in my prayer life. I'm like, dear God, and then I'm like, oh, I got to do this tomorrow and this, and then I shouldn't have said that to that person, and blah 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 blah, and all of a sudden, like, I've completely lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't she condemn me to annihilation?
Oh goodness, this again.
Well, the thing is, it really, really stands in the way of the only thing that I am competent at that can earn a decent wage. Otherwise, I'm unskilled labor.
Yeah, I like to do a lot of different things, but I feel like I'm an expert at none. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I'd say like the best thing, like I was really, really, really good at like youth director for church. I was really good at that sort of stuff, or camp director even, those two things. But there's a lot of things that I just like I like to do, but I don't do it with absolute excellence. And sometimes I wish I had this one thing that was practical that I could do with just absolute excellence.
Did you ask your husband?
Well, I mean, besides that, of course I'm pro there.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I'm an advocate of SSRIs. I'll only say that the SSRI medication that worked for me really does work, and my basic alternative is being curled up in the basement.
Well, we don't want you curled up in the basement. So, like, if you found something that works, then keep chugging on that, like, goodness sakes.
Yeah, I take a utilitarian point of view to the whole thing. And I'm just, well, I'm upset that the whole mental health issue is such, has such a stigma attached to it. And quite honestly, the fact that I have this issue is probably the only reason why I am able to empathize with Nadia's situation, because otherwise I'd be like, I'd be like the other people, the general population. It's like, oh, it's
the
all
general population of douchebags.
It means that, yeah, douchebag central. Like, this is.
Well, just... I think that's the argument. I actually was visiting in Eve's room, and she's like, "Do you think your compassion comes from Jesus?" And I'd say yes, partially, but I also say like in the secular world, or even in my experience, that like the pain that we go through has two different effects. One, it could scar and jade you and make you apathetic, or it can make you empathetic, and you can take that pain like you're describing and you can turn it around and go, I don't know how you're feeling, but I have felt pain before, and because of that I feel for you. And I absolutely agree that you can take that painful experience and say, I don't know what necessarily your situation, but I have known pain in my life and this sucks, and I feel for you.
Yeah, that's basically it. And I do totally feel empathy for Nadia. And, her accomplishments are, because of my particular, computer environment, the way I was raised and everything, it's like, from my point of view, Nadia has this brilliant mind and is just somebody that I would consider a role model for, brilliance in mathematics, doing this kernel programming stuff. I mean, this is like incredible stuff. And why the hell isn't anyone hiring her? What's the matter with people? I mean, it's like she would be a complete and total asset. I mean, yes, she has some health issues, but you know what? They are so far eclipsed by what she is able to do for them that,
the environments now to get a job too are so difficult. I mean, I've been through a lot of interviews recently because I had gotten laid off about 3 years ago. I got laid off, and so did my husband. I mean, this was a huge financial train wreck and blow to us because like we wanted to have kids, we ever had a house going. Okay, we're getting our ducks in a row, and then it was just like, that and an injury and an illness with me, and it just was like this big, huge financial train wreck that just really ruined our plans. But that being said,
at least one thing is you can still practice for kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, when your plans get derailed, and I just lost this ADHD right there. Where did you leave off, Fudd? And there was a point that I was going to tie it into yours, and I just got derailed.
Yeah, I was basically saying, Nadia has awesome skills, a beautiful mind,
Yeah. Okay. So
and any employer that relies on having a colonel or even just drivers and such, I'm sure Nadia can pick that up fairly quickly, particularly in Unix environments.
yeah, so the point that I was trying to tie in, if I could kind of really quick, is that right now the employers still because yes, people are trickling into jobs, but they're trickling into them in a part-time manner. Not everybody's full-time, and there's less of them. So that being said, employers now are able to be extremely picky. By extremely picky, I mean Nadia has a beautiful mind, absolutely. But they can also judge you on your looks now. You have a mind and you look. Judge you on if you connect with charisma. Are you charismatic? Are you going to be charismatic with our team? Are you going to be charismatic with a client or whatever? And so they want these Renaissance people, which is just ridiculous. Like very few people are actually Renaissance people, and like I'm a connector, I'm a talker, I like people. But like in the sales community, they want a beautiful girl. Well, I'm not like hot stuff. I'm just a nerdy girl, like, and I'm a tomboy, and so that being said, like I'm not the whole deal. And so like there's so much pressure to be the whole like perfect almost, and it's almost impossible. At least that's the way I feel about it. And so when I look at Nadia, I absolutely see a beautiful mind, but I also see I can understand, I guess, how there's a lot of pressure to
But
meet a social standard.
But the particular technical cases that Nadia would be dealing with, she would not have to deal with customers. She would not be on the front lines with clients. She would be basically down in the trenches doing the technical stuff, maybe being even a technical lead.
So what's blocking her? The HR manager only?
Yeah, HR is a filter.
Hi, Ray.
And they do not have a freaking clue when it comes to technical. Even at technical companies.
I know some people that work at Qualcomm. One of them has Asperger's, and he's like a genius and everything, but he's freaking, and I only know him. I sound like I know everybody, but I know this person and this person. I know this person more distantly because I've worked with his kid before, who also has Asperger's, so it's like a double Asperger's. But the dude like says that like everybody there is quirky or has Asperger's or something like at Qualcomm, and I don't know if that's true or not. I think that's interesting. And that's a technical company. I mean,
it's very technical. I imagine Qualcomm has many PhDs working for it.
I mean, pretty much everybody's cell phone has a chip made from them inside of it.
I think all of them do.
Yeah, they got their fingers everywhere. Like it's crazy.
Well, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. I need to get some rest, so.
All right. Good night,
talk to you again.
Good night.
Yep. Take care, guys. And Thor, we have to do our drunken hangout, and our guest will be, guess who? Deetra.
I'll go if McKay goes.
All right. Chill, guys.
Okay, that means you got to get Gus in there.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, from what I can see, based on my experience with working in the field and also seeing how students perform and whatnot, even though Nadia has a bachelor's degree, her work experience gives her the equivalent of at least a master's degree.
Yeah, when it comes to degrees, it's so freaking confusing. Again, another anecdotal story, because I have a friend who works in the drug companies, and it sounds so confusing how to please people. Like, oh, your degree's too high for this and too low for that, and you know, I don't know how it is in computer science in that way, but in biology it seems very tricky.
Well,
Um, and it's very all or nothing in the social work and psychology areas, because they're just like masters or go home, get out.
yeah, I think it's a universal thing. And also, Nadia is absolutely right with regards to it's not what you know, it's who you know. Because all the decent jobs I got were through the back door. That is, bypassing HR entirely.
My best job that I've ever had was I did go through HR, but I also had like three people that worked there pulling for me and willing to vouch for me.
Well, yeah, that helps.
And that job, like I had the best healthcare I ever had. I got paid the most. It was what allowed us to move forward financially. It was when we were planning to have a family. I mean, it was like way more stable. But unfortunately, it was tied to manufacturing, and that went it went to hell.
Yeah. Well, basically, what I'm trying to do is essentially almost the equivalent of just going out every week and buying Powerball tickets. So,
Yeah. I don't know if that's the best financial plan either, but I
it's
guess it
not.
doesn't hurt.
It's not. Plus, unlike standing in line to buy Powerball tickets, it's doing real work.
Though I gotta tell you, I mean, you can win even a smaller sum, which could be helpful. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I'm working in that area, but well, like I said, this past week has been filled with a whole bunch of shit, and I'm hoping to get over it soon enough that I can, get back on track. But even so, life does not give you guarantees. Life does not owe you anything, and so on and so forth. Uh, although it's unfortunate that the United States does not have a proper single payer universal healthcare system like the United Kingdom and other first world countries.
yeah, in my world, if we were to do socialized medicine, in my world, which doesn't exist, but if it did, I would tie dental and mental health with it, actually.
And
And
don't forget optical.
yeah, optical, I guess so. I find like the
You know how
cost of my
expensive glasses
eyes,
are?
huh?
Glasses are expensive.
I wear glasses. I mean, 90% of the time, well, actually more than that, probably 98% of the time I'm wearing glasses because no matter what contacts I wear, I can only wear them for a short amount of time before I'm like, ah.
Well, the glasses I have, when I bought them, they were over $500.
Well, I went to Walmart. My last pair of glasses, they're so styling, let me tell you. Again,
Well, I did the lens crafters thing, but it turned
yeah,
out it was not
LensCrafters,
in about an hour because my prescription
yeah.
is so strong they don't stock the blanks.
Yeah, like LensCrafters is great. I mean, they balance your glasses out. They're usually a better style. They're lighter weight. All this great stuff about them. But when you are like financially strapped, like I am, well, you're regulated to go to either Costco or to Walmart. And I went to Walmart and I got like I think it cost me like 150 maybe for
Well,
lenses
my
and
glasses
glasses.
are over 8 years old now, so
Yeah.
I guess I can justify the cost by the fact they've been amortized beyond the fact that my prescription has changed since that. Well, my eyes have changed since then because they're still changing because I'm still growing older for some reason.
Well, the glasses I have in my current picture here, the black ones, those I still have, but they're scratched to hell because I took them on a trip to Monument Valley, and we went biking through the Four Corner States, and well, not biking like run, but like cycling. And the sandstorms would pelt us, and they just scratched my lenses to hell. So then at nighttime, it was like any light that flashed by or
Oh,
an
yes.
oncoming car, it was just stars everywhere because my glasses were so scratched up.
I know
So,
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
so I had to get new lenses because I was just getting migraines.
Yeah, my lenses, when they were purchased, I don't know how many of the coatings have survived, if any, but they had anti-reflective coatings, both sides, anti-scratch, and UV filter.
Anti-scratch does nothing after you've been pummeled with sand at 50 miles an hour.
Well, I've got some chips and scratches, but for the most part, the lenses are reasonably okay. And the frames, they're titanium frames, and they've only been stepped on twice.
Well, that's good. I have rolled
They
over my
got
glasses,
crunched. I
stepped on
mean,
my
that,
glasses. It's
yeah,
great.
yeah. Next time I'm going back to the spring steel, the flex frame, because I thought titanium would somehow do better, but
Well, it does
no.
sound like great. Titanium, it's got to be super strong, right?
Right, they sounded great, but it turned out no. Spring steel is better. The ones where you can take the earpiece, wrap it around your finger, and then it
Stand
goes
up showing his
boing
glasses
right
off right
back to
now.
its original shape.
Stand up for Yahweh's like, look at my glasses.
And I would love them to be unpainted because the paint flakes, and when it starts flaking, it leaves these little edges that dig into your skin. And I'm very phobic about LASIK.
Oh, LASIK. I have astigmatism and nearsightedness, and then I have something. Oh, what is it called? My eye. I got hit in the head, and this now you're gonna say this is what's wrong with you. Here comes the incoming joke. I got hit in the head so hard when I was a kid that they think that's what caused this, but I have damage to my optical nerve on
Oh,
my
if you
right
got hit
eye
in the back of their head, that would
by
possibly
a
be,
baseball bat. Yeah.
because
So
that's
I was
where your optic center is in the back of the head.
yeah. So I got hit, and so I see, but like if I close my left eye and I only use my right eye, it like the weirdest stuff happens. Like I'll look at a license plate in front of me, and like I'll see the two N letters, but then everything else, because California's license plates are blue and white, everything else fades into white in the middle. Like it just disappears, like it doesn't exist. And so like anything that's straight on with my right eye, I just don't seem to understand the depth. And sometimes it'll just omit information for some damn reason. And so they said it's a problem with the nerve just not giving information to my brain on that eye. And so my left eye has to deal with the astigmatism, nearsightedness, and there was another issue, and I cannot remember the name, but also people with MS have that problem too.
Yeah. Okay, so you can only go so far with optical correction.
Exactly. That's what my point was. That it might solve the nearsightedness, but it's iffy on astigmatism from what I understand. I don't know if they've changed that, and then it wouldn't even help the other issue. But the other issue isn't really helped with glasses anyway.
They now have contact lenses that are supposed to deal with astigmatism, but here's the thing that freaks me out with them. The way they do it is they have little weights in them that if you're standing up vertically and everything, the lens rotates into position so that it corrects for the astigmatism. The thing is, I have to, for doing other tasks, have my head sideways or practically upside down, so the lenses are going to rotate completely out of position. And the idea of a lens rotating on my eyeball, let alone sticking something on my eyeball, is another one of those things that freaks me out. So, no contacts for me. Essentially, what I need is new glasses because they are just too old.
I think you're supposed to get your eyes checked, what, once a year or 2 years? I usually do it every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's what they say, but I don't have insurance that covers that. So,
Oh, but you could go to poor person's option
well,
Walmart or something awful like me.
well, actually, the optometrists at LensCrafters are really not that expensive. I mean, it's on the order of about $100 at the most.
Yeah, I think I actually went to a LensCrafters optometrist and then went and got my glasses somewhere else like a jerk.
Yeah. It's really, yeah, the glasses cost more than the optometrist, so it's not, the optometry thing is really not a big deal. It's finding a decent set of frames, getting the appropriate blanks cut and everything, and the weight and all that. LensCrafters is not bad. Also, the nice thing about LensCrafters is lifetime free adjustments. Like, for example, I mentioned I stepped on my glasses twice. Both times they repaired them free of charge. I mean, by bending them back. Although with the caveat that it's possible that it might break, and then in that case, you need new glasses. But,
It's bothering me that I can't remember the name. So I'm like scrolling through while I'm talking to you.
yeah.
It's just bothering me.
I do like them better than Bausch and Lomb.
Do you ever wear contacts?
No.
See,
Like I
sometimes
said,
I
I
will.
cannot get past the idea of sticking something onto my eyeball.
It's really hard for me to get it in, and then getting it out is usually not so bad for me.
I did ask specifically one time whether contacts would work with my astigmatism, and the optometrist said, no, they won't help. You won't see better with contacts than with glasses. And I was like, okay. Because, glasses are a bit of a pain in the butt. Obviously, contacts require their own care. Even if you get like the 7-day contacts and packs of, the disposable contacts, you go with packs of those. But, the price mounts up fairly quickly with that shit.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah, I've
glasses,
used the dailies.
yeah,
Yeah.
the daily wears are even worse in that respect, I think.
The weird thing with those though is sometimes they're so thin, the daily ones, that it's really hard to get them out.
But at least you throw them away afterwards.
Yeah, but sometimes they're really hard to get out, or I've had them slide underneath my eyelid, and then it's a pain. Ugh, that's the worst when they slide really far up or under.
Ew.
Yeah, that can be a problem with them if they break and they go up under the top lid. That's what A&E gets a lot of problem with, is people getting stuck, and it feels like even when you get a fragment of anything in your eye, even like a particle of dust. Imagine having a broken bit of fucking silicon stuck up there. It's a nightmare. But yeah, I wear contacts almost exclusively. My glasses are so fucked up. I've got like -7, -7.25 in each eye, and my glasses are so my eyes look like peanuts. Like I look like a special fucking person, but my prescription's so negative that I won't wear them. But as long as you choose like a really small frame, you can get rid of some of that because they can cut it from the center of the lens. But I've had the thinning, I've had everything done, but it won't change the way that it affects the optics, right? They try and sell you sometimes like, oh, if you get it thinned, it'll make your eyes look a bit more like, it doesn't. I can't change that sort of the look of it. It's why I don't wear them a lot. But yeah, the contacts, I've tried everything. I've got dailies, monthlies, whatever. Hay fever's a big problem for me when it's summer. I do the drops. Apparently you're not meant to do the drops to them. Fuck, it's made no difference for me. I do it. I just bang anything in my eyes I can. But yeah, my glasses are fucked. They're held together with a piece of electrical tape, and the prescription's so bad that I can't see the TV as clearly like 3 foot from me. But the contacts, you don't realize how fucking tired I know that sounds dumb, but how tired it makes your eyes after like a day. Or if you leave them in and you fall asleep. Oh, fuck me.
Oh, yeah, I heard
Oh.
that's really bad. Also,
But the
contact
word is-
lenses reduce the oxygen flow through your eyeball, which is definitely a problem.
The word that I was looking for was amblyopia, which would have been a lazy eye. And it's
My sister has that.
which my eye isn't really that lazy. I have a couple pictures where it shows where my eye will actually, instead of dropping to one side, it actually will drop down. You know, it'll just start falling down, sort of. But yeah, it's basically my eye just doesn't want to see certain information. It's like, nah.
So you didn't wear the eye patch as a kid?
It wasn't caught as a kid. I mean, I
Oh.
remember telling my mom I had trouble seeing, and kids are so weird. We're so like, you know.
Well, my sister had it caught as a kid, but she wouldn't wear the patch, so she still got it. She has no good night vision because her depth perception is pretty much non-existent.
Yeah, I have to be really careful with like oncoming traffic, and I tend to have to look at markers and stuff like that. I can't just like necessarily gauge the car coming. Me with a baseball bat trying to bat is kind of a joke. I can shoot okay, which is weird. Not too bad, but I tend to want to close one of my eyes, which is the bad one.
I keep both eyes open when I'm shooting, even when I'm using the scope.
A range master was like yelling at me. It was my first time trap shooting, and the range master just kept insisting on trying to help me, and he's like, stop shutting your eye. And I was hitting like, I was actually doing really well, but he's like, oh, I'm going to coach you and make you better. And he's like, stop closing your right eye. Why are you closing your right eye? I'm like, because I have to. And he's like, no, you don't. And I was like trying to explain to him what was happening. And so like with every time I had both eyes open, I'd miss every single time.
Yeah, I can understand. I've developed this, and I noticed that most shooters will close the off eye. And of course that makes them squint, which makes them less capable, and some people have cheated by getting special setups that just block the off eye. But I've mastered the skill of being able to switch between both eyes, even though I am right eye dominant. So I can use my left eye to sight where the target is and then switch to my right eye through the scope.
Well, I definitely can't do that. That just means that the target's going to disappear, probably.
Yeah, I'm able to do that. Although, a problem I do have, which applies to getting the glasses, is my interpupillary distance is closer than average by enough that it does make things a little difficult, which is kind of surprising to me because my depth perception actually is excellent when I'm wearing proper corrective eyewear.
Well, that's good that you can fix that. I'm not very perfect when I go to fix it. Anyway,
Well,
it's been terrific hanging out. It's nice to have a night where people aren't so wasted that it's just miserable. Because there was a couple nights ago where it was ridiculous. But I have to get ready and then I have to take off. So you guys have a good night or a good day.
All right, and good luck at jury duty.
Ugh.
I know.
All right, bye.
You'll get your $11. Okay, so that sounds to me like time to segue to a new topic, unless other people want to still talk about vision or whatever. Or is everyone asleep or away at other hangouts?
I think everyone's away. Well, or I'm trying not to pass out.
Well, I slept all through Sunday, so this is, let's see, I woke up after midnight. So it's not like, so basically I guess this is afternoon for me. Or very early evening at the latest anyway.
No, it's like 1 o'clock here or 1:30.
Well, I'm not talking about the actual time on the clock. I'm talking about my body's interpretation of time. Hey, Bob.
Hey, good morning, guys. Morning, you too, Pom. I'm on my cell phone. I can't see nobody typing.
Oh, yeah. I'm on audio only anyway. So, but I'm still in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I'm heading down to Kansas
Are you
City.
in Ohio, or are you on the I-95 corridor, or what?
No, I'm 94 heading west. I gotta go down to Kansas City.
Oh, Kansas City. Okay, I hope you have an armored truck.
I've been down there. It's not that bad.
Okay, that's not what I hear from the people who live there. Maybe they're bragging. I think there's a competition between Kansas City and South Chicago about the highest crime rate.
Oh.
Like, somehow they get bragging rights. It's like, oh, well, we have like 300 shootings per day here. Oh, yeah? Well, we have 450. Oh, yeah? Well, we have a nuclear annihilation every week.
Yeah. Nice.
Is Kansas City bad then?
There is a kind of high crime rate in Kansas City, Missouri, but and South Side Chicago, obviously. But
Right.
honestly,
I get the reference for Chicago, but I've never heard about Kansas being a bad place.
I know a few people from there.
Kansas City. They outside Kansas City. What was that? They had them riots a couple months ago. Where that black kid got shot.
Oh yeah, Ferguson.
Yeah, Ferguson. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What's it like in Baltimore now? Because they've stopped kind of showing it on the news here.
Oh shit. I don't even. Okay, the only thing I know about Baltimore is the traffic sucks there almost as much as Washington, D.C. You know, when you're traveling down I-95, you go through the... Baltimore has a beltway, but you stay on the I-95 side of it when you're following my particular route. And then when you hit D.C., I take the 495 side, which goes west of D.C., because typically I'm getting off at 66 to shoot over to 81. Or if I'm going to Tampa, then I still choose the western side because I like it better than the eastern side. More time in Virginia, less time in Maryland. Because Maryland is a fucking fascist state. But that's just me.
Yeah, I never noticed it behind the wheel.
Well, so far Maryland cops have not pulled me over, but I've heard stories that are absolutely horrific, and I have been pulled over by VA a couple times, and you know what? They're a lot more polite than what I've heard from the Maryland police. So I would prefer to keep most of my route in Virginia versus Maryland. But, yeah. I don't know what it is like for the truckers, though, of course, because, you know, there's the way stations and all that crap.
Yeah. Well, usually you don't get city cops pulling over truckers too often.
No, it's the state's police.
Yep.
And of course, when you're on the interstate, yeah, it's not like you're going through town.
Yep.
So, yeah, usually state police. One of the interesting things I saw in the Capitol Beltway was during rush hour, apparently the police turn off regulation authority because everyone just drives the way they want to. They ignore the lane markers, everything, and they ignore the fucking cops.
Well, fuck
The
me in
cops
London.
ignore them.
the worst driving I've ever seen in my life is in London. People like, I mean, you may as well not be a fucking pedestrian in London in certain areas. Like, I've never really noticed really bad driving, but they're holy shit. You may as well fucking disappear if you're walking around, because no one gives a flying fuck. If you're crossing the road in certain areas, people are fucking, it's fucking bedlam in certain areas. But, I mean, it's one of the busiest cities in the world, right? But it's funny.
I was too young when I'm in London to appreciate those circumstances.
My uncle took me there when I was really young, and I got really travel sick in the car. I threw up on the way down there, and then we went to see some football match that I'm not interested in. And then he couldn't remember where he parked his fucking car, and he lived there when he was at university for, whatever, 4 years. And I'm like fucking 11 years old with my uncle in the middle of fucking nowhere. He couldn't fucking find the car. Like, we were like a tube station away from fucking where it was parked. But it's like,
Oh, shit.
I wouldn't have thought it was that complicated to remember where you parked, but apparently it is.
Seriously, I mean, the London metro system is one of the best in the world. In fact, the Metropolitan the name comes from the British Metro Service. But yeah, that's weird. Well, when I was a child and living in Watford, my dad got a promotion, and along with that came a company car, which is a Rover 2.2-liter sedan. Very nice car, you know, very posh. Unfortunately, the leather interior, the way it smelled, made me felt nauseous just
Yep. That's one of the things that sets me off is getting in a car is, like, I've tried, I mean, the only thing that will stop me getting travel sick is the pills. And they
Dramamine?
I'm not sure what the content is, but they make me incredibly tired. I mean, I've had them where certain hay fever medication and certain travel sickness medication, it puts me out and I have really weird fucking vivid dreams. But I remember going to a zoo one summer and I took a lot of hay fever medication just so I could fucking make it through the day. And fuck me, like I must have been out for like 14 hours afterwards, and it was a good sleep. Like, I don't sleep very well at all. Like, I have a real problem. Like, my sleep pattern's terrible. But that, oh my god, the travel sickness pills, I've had them and I fucking, also I've like, it fucks up, like, I don't know if they put a lot of lactose in them, but like, I've like been close to shitting myself like fucking after I've been on them, and it's just like, it's not fun. But as a kid, you can't really control it.
Sorry.
No, it's alright. But like,
If I ever develop lactose intolerance, I'll kill myself, because I am a massive milk drinker to this day, even though I'm well into adulthood. I drink more milk than the typical adult. I've been told that, you know, milk is for children. But I drink lots of milk. But you know what? I have done Superman off my motorcycle. I've been in low sides and various other things without being injured. And in addition to the fact that I do wear full gear all the time, I attribute it to strong bones, which I attribute to the fact that I drink a hell of a lot of milk. You know, the calcium makes the bones strong. So it's like, you know, that probably sounds like a complete non sequitur. But anyway, go ahead.
no, I drink a lot of milk, but it's mainly the amount of coffee I drink. That's probably killing me. I'll probably end up with a fucking lump of cancer in my fucking bowel the size of a fucking watermelon.
Yeah.
But that's probably from other things.
The prostate thing, because I notice consciously, oh shit, I have my prostate like all tensed up, and I have to consciously relax it. And I think that's what causes an enlarged prostate, is by the fact that you keep tension on it. And of course, you know, that can cause the side effect of being difficult to urinate. And I really do not want prostate cancer.
Yeah, milk is not very good for you.
Oh boy, and I'm a whole milk drinker, not that 2% crap.
It should be treated like every other calorie-laden beverage.
Well,
And there's no benefit for an adult to drink milk. So
oh, there's vitamin D in it.
it's vitamin D in sunlight.
I don't go out into the sun when I can avoid it.
Also, the vitamin D in milk is very unsubstantial.
Okay.
Same thing with the calcium quantities. It's very small, and there have been numerous studies. Milk is not very good for you. It's not like don't drink it, but it should be treated like every other beverage that has a shitload of calories in it.
Gallons of the stuff, bathing in the motherfucker.
It has less. No, wait. Actually, calorically, it's probably not too different from canned sodas. But
That's
it's
true.
probably less damaging to the teeth.
Um,
I like the taste of it. I'm sorry, I just do.
Oh, I would drink it constantly. My diet when I was a kid was peanut butter and jam sandwiches and fucking milk. That's why I was such a fat fuck.
apparently, also milk is awful for your gut. A lot of children end up in the hospital with bleeding from their stomach because of drinking too much milk.
So what you're saying is we should really just start killing all the cows.
We should moderate milk consumption.
We should butcher the cows and then find some way to do something with their bodies.
All right, I'm going to pretend that I'm a statistical outlier and that milk is not really an issue for me.
Okay.
Well, I'm not noticing any problems from it.
Well, you're an adult.
And my meal today was a 4-egg omelet with mozzarella cheese and some Cajun seasoning and chili powder.
Okay.
And a glass of milk. Also, before that, I chugged down a 14-ounce glass of orange juice. Tropicana, not from concentrate.
Okay, so again, like a glass of milk is not going to hurt you. It's if every beverage of the day is substituted with milk, which is what a lot of parents do with their kids, and it's not so much a problem with adults. With adults, you just usually run into digestive issues.
Yeah, IBS is an issue I've heard with milk in adults, and of course lactose intolerance. I've not suffered from either of the two. So
right, and milk isn't causative of those. It just aggravates them.
Right. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with any scientific data.
And I mean, the truth is that, like, from a medical professional, that he said, like, chocolate chip cookies is practically a sin without a glass of milk. But at the same time, it shouldn't be treated as some sort of health beverage, which is what a lot of people are led to believe that it is.
Oh, okay. I see where you're coming from now. Yeah, I don't consider it a health beverage. I drink it because I like it.
Right, and that's what I mean by saying it should be treated like every other calorie-laden beverage. That, in moderation it's fine, but don't think that you're, like, doing a body good, as the commercials claim, by drinking milk all the time.
Right. Doing a body good. Sponsored by the American Dairy Association, a totally unbiased group.
Not biased at all, nope.
Yeah. Frankly, I have no issues with dairy products, and I'm glad of it, and I do like milk, and the reason I would be upset with lactose intolerance is because you either have to take pills or give up the lactose-bearing foods. And
at this point, I could do that pretty easily. I've got to watch my sodium intake, so I've had to cut out cheese quite a bit. I'll have it on a rare occasion as like a treat, but I've gotten accustomed to ordering stuff without cheese. And that's pretty much...
I never add salt to anything, so I might be okay with the sodium intake.
Again, sodium isn't causative.
I know, but my understanding is that excessive doses of sodium are technically possibly increase heart problem risks.
If there's something pre-existing,
Yeah.
they're going to aggravate any latent heart conditions you might have because it increases your blood pressure because you retain more fluid.
Yeah, and potassium's not going to be any better of a substitute.
Potassium is a little bit better. Potassium doesn't cause you to retain water the way sodium does,
Oh, okay.
as far as I know.
Information assimilated. But yeah, I'm sure I'm okay with my potassium intake because orange juice and bananas both have adequate potassium.
Yeah, potassium serves very different purposes in the body than sodium.
I know that potassium is used in the ion transfer between neurons.
It's also
I don't know what other purposes it serves.
it also keeps muscles from cramping.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like if you get like a huge knot in a muscle, they say like eat a banana.
Yes, yes. Or drink a glass of orange juice that has about the same amount of potassium in it.
Mm-hmm. Bananas are just nice because typically if you're doing an activity that gives you a massive knot in your muscle, you're probably using a lot of energy. And
Right.
bananas are very good energy sources.
Oh yeah, they're pretty much pure carbohydrate.
But yeah, sodium, so like for me it's family history. Blood pressure runs in the family, and I was lucky enough to inherit.
I understand. Yeah, I've probably inherited heart issues, but so far they've not manifested other than tachycardia when I drink too much alcohol.
Is tachycardia where you get like heart murmurs from alcohol?
Tachycardia essentially is a fancy name for very rapid heartbeat. I mean, very rapid, like approaching 300 beats per minute, maybe more. And you're going to actually be feeling it. You'll hear it in your ears. You'll feel your fingers pumping in and out. You'll feel your toes pumping in and out. And I'm not going to mention other things that happen, but it is fucking scary as hell. And in my case, I fear for a brain aneurysm due to the boosted blood pressure that would go along with the very rapid heartbeat. But I have not had fibrillation as a result.
Wow. I've had my heart rate, the highest I've had my heart rate go, and that was during intense physical activity, was about 200. I've had medication cause my heart rate to sit at 120, resting,
Yeah.
and that sucked.
Yeah, I actually, most pharmacies, they have a blood pressure / pulse measuring machine that you can sit in and try it out for free. My blood pressure, both systolic and diastolic, is quite within normal range, but my resting beats per minute is much higher than normal.
What's your resting?
85 to 90.
That is pretty high. I've gotten my resting heart rate as low as like 55.
Well, that's when you're in very good cardio condition.
Right. These days it sits in the 60s.
Yeah, I've had it that low, but that was when I was younger and did a shitload of... I was very, very active. My current lifestyle is very, very sedentary.
Yeah, I'm actually working on getting back into a regular routine, which this sprained ankle is not helping.
Try swimming.
Not with a sprained ankle.